All right, let's see if we can't recap part 1 of the Skyshade read-along. Last time, on Skyshade, Grimm took Isla to the village she destroyed in the past and told her he doesn't care if the world dies as long as he has her. Isla was in Grimm's kingdom now, but no one except him liked her. We learned that the threat to TM for this book is going to be a bunch of deadly storms. Isla went to the blacksmith from the previous book and got power-canceling bracelets, so once again, she doesn't have any powers. Isla went to see Grimm's baby dragon, which is all grown up now. You also remember the dragon from the previous book? If you don't feel bad, he was in like one scene. Isla flew out on the dragon for a Cleo cameo that ultimately went nowhere. Isla's old mentors showed up, so they're in the book now. It turned out that all of the Nightbane fields have been destroyed by someone. Obsessed with prophecies, Isla decided to climb a mountain and speak to some acolytes of a random dead prophet. The mountain was actually a tunnel maze, and she and Grimm totally bonded while they quote-unquote adventured through the maze. At the top of the mountain, Isla got a ton more side quests, which include, but are not limited to, find prophecy pages, still figure out who to kill, Grimm or Oro. There's a traitor in her midst. She has to follow the snakes. There are quote-unquote prophet followers around for exposition reasons. She has to find and close a portal and find the augur. Then Isla went to Azul, who gave her some rings that can capture storms. Isla went home and got a magic feather that writes in blood and apparently can communicate with dead Celeste. Sure, why not? Isla found out that the snakes are coming out of the ground, but never followed up on that clue. Isla went to see the augur who demanded hearts, so Isla entered her vigilante era. Once she collected enough hearts, she went for a little paddle in the augur's blood pool and learned about the sick power tattoos that will make her even more powerful. Isla got distracted from her 1,000 quests by killing some guy who didn't matter and hanging out with her cousin for like 10 seconds. Then Isla went back to her old room and apparently Celeste wrote back to her through the magic feather pen, and that's where we left off. I would like to point out that that sounds disjointed not because of my bad storytelling skills, but because this book is extremely disjointed. I decided to do one more chapter today, get this out of the way, then I'm gonna go play some video games. Chapter 12 is called Feather, probably because of the feather pen.
Everybody's so creative.
So Isla gets the feather and the paper, and she writes, "How is this possible?" And then it writes back, "All that is buried eventually rises." Good, great. Zombie Celeste. I mean, Isla, she's like, "I stabbed Celeste and she fell into an abyss." And I'm like, but did you check a pulse? Because if you didn't check a pulse, if you didn't find a body, if you didn't check a pulse, then by movie rules at least, she's not dead. So we cut away from that because she's like done with that scene already. That was literally half a page. And we cut to her talking to the blacksmith. She's like, "Hey, have you ever made like a pen that could speak to the dead?" She brought the feather with her to the blacksmith, which I guess is smart, but I'm also kind of surprised that she didn't just like leave it in the room. We keep hitting on the fact that Isla's blood is power in this one. Again, that would have been something you might want to set up, from book 1. She bleeds a lot in that book, and nobody ever goes, "Her blood, it's power." Apparently, though, the pen might kind of just be a Horcrux, and like a piece of Celeste's soul might be stuck in it, according to the blacksmith. There's a piece of metal like inside the feather, and it's shade made, which is the type of metal that the blacksmith is working with. But it's metal from the other dimension, or another dimension, apparently. She shooketh when the blacksmith is like, "Yeah, I'm also from another dimension," and Isla's like, "You, a very mythical-seeming being from another dimension, you say," just like Remlar. You remember Remlar, the bug man. I forget what happened to him. Anyway, Remlar was also apparently from another dimension, and so's this guy, I guess. But he's like, "I can't tell you about the dimension that I came from because I've been here for too long and I've forgotten." All right, that's all the information she needed from the blacksmith. Smash cut to the next scene. In this scene, she's writing Lynx, and she gets snippets of Lynx's memories, which I guess happens sometimes, and she's seeing memories of her mother and father. She also sees a little glimpse in the scene that she's seeing of her mother and father. She sees a little glimpse of what she assumes is Oro. Is she going to turn out to be related to Oro, and that's why they can't be together romantically?
Then she starts to just remember Oro in general, and she is thinking about like the time that they kissed, and it's too little too late. Like, we know that this book is Grimm's book, and we're only supposed to really like him. But we get back to where the baby dragon is staying, and Grimm is there, and he's washing the dragon for some reason. I guess that's a thing you need to do. It's like washing his car. He's even using a giant sponge. Dragon bubble bath scene seems to be going on for a while, so she's like, how do you wash all the soap off of him? This is crucial, we needed to know this. And Grimm is like, hop on the soapy dragon and I'll show you, which I assume they're just gonna go like douse him in a river or the ocean or something, but like, why are we watching this? Yep, he goes to a spring, but I'm gonna assume it has to be more like a lake because he's a very large dragon, and dives right in. Isla, who we already know does not particularly like water and has a lot of bad experiences with almost drowning, handles being submerged with a dragon to the bottom of a lake really well. She's fine with it, actually. And now we have this, we're just doing a cutesy scene, I think, where she's like, tee-hee-hee, and she pushes Grimm into the water, and then he uses his shadows to pull her into the water, and then she's like, oh no, I will sink because I'm covered in weapons, apparently. And he just starts pulling her weapons off and throwing them to the shore, which I guess they must be close enough to that he can do that, or maybe he's using shadows to do that, it's unclear. But it's mostly so he can feel her up as he's searching for more weapons. So it's a beautiful lake, very majestic. There's a beautiful waterfall, and Isla's like, where is this place? And he says, a pocket of beauty in Nightshade, a rare one. Well, considering we've been told so little of what Nightshade actually looks like, I don't know how this differs. We've been in forests. We don't know what forests look like on Nightshade. We've been in farmland. We don't know what farmland looks like. We've been in a crag. We've been so many places, and it was so underdescribed that I don't know why this spot is more beautiful. So she swims about for a bit. She has a lovely time. She climbs out onto the bank for a nap, and Grimm climbs onto the bank and starts putting all her weapons back in her clothes so he can feel her up again. I don't know how scratching a dragon's belly works. Like, he's huge. I don't know how she can reach his belly, but she's scratching his belly. I don't know how he can feel it, because wouldn't his scales be way too hard to, like, feel tiny human fingers scratching his belly? You'd think he would have to, like, Grimm would have to use his shadows or something, but she's just scratching the giant dragon's belly with her bare hands. Oh, we're getting the wedding scene. Oh, I knew we were going to get a wedding scene. So Grimm is like, hey, my people still hate you. And actually, the thing that you did with the guy's head, they didn't like that, actually. They think that you are creepy and evil. I don't know what the tone of this place is. You'd think the people here might have actually liked that display, but no, they were not into it. So he's like, I think that you and I need to have like a wedding to make them like you. Because it's important that they like you. She could try doing anything for the people here, but no, a wedding is what's going to do it. This is such rich people logic. It is pretty hilarious. Grimm is like, you know what these people need who have been like plagued with these horrible storms that are destroying their homes and ripping up their fields? They need, and let me read it for you. A distraction, even for a few hours, would benefit everyone. Rich people logic. He's like, what if we threw like a really big, awesome party so that the poors were distracted from their problems for a while? That's what they need. That's what they need. That's all they need. Oh my god.
Not only do we have this as like the thing that's gonna make those silly poor people all feel better is a big old wedding where they get to watch their king and queen dance in their pretty clothes. But like just in general, nobody else matters in these stories except for the rulers. The common folk do not matter. They sometimes get names and a couple of lines, but that's it. They don't matter. Everybody who's important, who actually moves things, who does things in the world is a ruler, and of course they all rule through some innate birthright and specialness that they just can't control, which again, especially in the United States, we have such a wealth worship problem where we tend to think that if you have wealth, it's because you automatically deserve it and you must be better than everyone else. Sometimes the author just shines right through in a book, and I feel like this is one of those times. It's not every time, and not every single thing a character does or says means that the author thinks those things, but like the signs are all here.
She goes for it, though. She's like, fine, if that'll make people like me, I guess I'll get married to you again. And that's the end of the chapter. Wow, what a nothing chapter. Thank God that chapter happened. Well, all right. Now I'm gonna go play video games. I'll see you for the next one. Hello, hello. I know I'm wearing the same shirt, but it is a different day. I'm gonna read a chapter really quick. The next chapter is called Heart Ripper. Probably yet another cool, badass name that Isla gets to have. She's dreaming about snakes. I'm just so entertained that Isla just like decided that snakes are her thing now, and like they're her whole personality. Like she went all in. It's like when you get a new fandom and you're like really, really into it. She's like, it's snakes now. Snakes forever. Snakes are my thing. What I want to know is what inspired Alex Astor to do this. Like, did she also watch the new Hunger Games movie? Or is it something else? I don't know. I think Powerless, unless she got like an ARC copy or something like really early of Powerless, I don't think it could have been Powerless that inspired this. But the snake dream reminded her that she's supposed to follow the snakes. And she's like, oh yeah, she's got so many quest hooks. She needs like, again, like a video game. She needs to like open her quest journal and like pick which one she wants to follow. Tonight it's snakes. She prowled the streets night after night. The streets of what? The streets of where? Is it the same city where she has apparently just been picking off people night after night for their hearts? Is it a different city? Is there a town around the castle? I feel like there isn't. I feel like Grimm just like has a castle somewhere, just like sitting in the middle of this island. But there's no like feeling of true world infrastructure. Like, how is this land laid out? Where is the farmland? Where are the cities? How far away are they from each other? How big is this island? We don't know. Now, obviously, as an author, you don't have to put like every tiny minutia of that information into your story, but you should know. You should know. Like, I know about like trade routes in the book that I am writing, and the readers are never going to find out about that, but like I know. So I know like the natural movements of the people in these lands, the natural layout of their country. So apparently she has a favorite rooftop that she goes to hunt because she's just daredevil at this point. And this time she finds a little snacky snack waiting for her on her rooftop. And she's like, it could be poisoned. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good thought. But my first thought would be like, well, crap, somebody obviously knows that I've been here numerous nights. I guess I'm not that sneaky after all, but she's just like, she takes the fact that there is food waiting for her here in stride. Although it's probably just Grimm, because he's probably just been following her. It has not occurred to her yet that he could just always be following her. Oh, but it's not Grimm. She's like, suspicious. So she waits on a different rooftop the next night, and a woman climbs up to give a gift. She was the first woman that Isla saved from the creepy guy. Isla, however, does not eat the pie that the woman leaves because Isla is distrustful. She does not wonder how this woman figured out where she likes to lurk, nor does she think about how maybe she's not as sneaky as she thinks she is. She's just like, oh, okay, well, I can't trust this pie because I have hardened my heart against everyone. Isla decides to go walk the streets, like Jack the Ripper, and she hears someone following her who's like very clumsy at sneaking, unlike her, a master at it. She's just gone like fully Powerless again. I almost feel like maybe the author did read Powerless. Maybe she got a chance to beta read Powerless or something and is stealing its notes, because Alex Astor doesn't really do original thoughts. Or when she does, it's very confusing. But all of a sudden we have Isla, the Midnight Vigilante, out here, which I did not have on the bingo card because I didn't expect this to happen. But somebody's following her and she's like, aha, I suspected that one of the many, many men that I have killed might have had friends. Turns out it's not one of the men's friends. It is still the woman who left the pies. And Isla, like, holds a dagger to her throat because that's what we do. Isla does not think about how this woman who is not good at sneaking has still definitely figured out Isla's movements really, really well. Oh my god, everything in this has to be about Isla and how amazing she is, because this woman's like, I'm following you because I want you to teach me. Teach me, senpai. The woman's name is Saoirse, or Saoirse? I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Saoirse? So Isla gives like a 1-paragraph rundown of, if you're being attacked, these are places to hit the man, break his nose, hit him in the balls. And then she gives this woman a dagger and is like, you're not good at using this, so like the dagger's a last resort because it could be used against you. That's the whole lesson. And then we jump cut. Luckily, the jump cut is to a later date when Saoirse is waiting for Isla again. So at least this woman doesn't give up, but also it's just sort of like, again, I can just feel the hand of the author. The author decided that Isla needs to have be teaching another woman at this point. She must become the master. She has been the apprentice. She must become the master. And so somebody's just got to like show up and be like, teach me, Isla. You're so good at everything. Apparently the city is just absolutely swimming in rapists, which I guess makes sense for what we've seen of this island from the previous book. But we are just wall to wall in rapists, and she and Saoirse are sitting on top of the wall when another bar door opens, door to a tavern opens, and probably another rapist is going to come stumbling out. I guess there's no rapist to come stumbling out, but Isla decides she's going to go into the bar, have a little visit. And of course, everybody stops and stares at her, their jaws falling open, and Isla's like, oh, that's right, they hate me, everyone hates me. But they're actually, like, starstruck. And they call her the Heart Ripper because she has been ripping hearts out. She's Jack the Ripper to these people, but she's very cool because she's only been doing it to bad people. We're just racking up badass names that Isla has been collecting. That's mostly what this book is. People calling Isla cool new nicknames. So Saoirse is definitely just decided that she's going to be Isla's friend now, and she like links arms with her and is like, come on, I'll buy you a drink, we're besties. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be suspicious of her because she's like so determined to ingrain herself into Isla's life, or whether this is just how the author thinks friendship happens. Then Saoirse calls her a saint, and Isla seems to know what that is, how laughable, how ridiculous that word was when applied to her. And I'm like, okay, now we have saints in this world? This is the first I'm freaking hearing of it. What is your religion? What does a saint mean to you? And after they hang out in the bar, we smash cut to the next day, where she is begrudgingly letting Saoirse, like, hang out with her. Isla will make friends through no efforts of her own. We find out that, like, they've been hanging out every night. They go to the bar. Saoirse talks about her family. And all of that is just told to us in, like, a paragraph because we want to speed run everything. So, like, this friendship, we're speed running it. Isla's just like, yeah, it's nice that I get to hang out with this girl every night. She's worming her way into my heart. Would be nice to see it, but we're not gonna. We do get a brief moment where she asks Saoirse what they think of Grimm, and she's like, oh, he's a really good king. He loves his people. He always takes care of us. So once again, the Grimm apology tour continues. But we cut to her that night trying to fall asleep. Lynx comes and like nudges her out of bed because someone is at her window. And who should it be of all people? It is Oro. We have Oro back on the scene, baby. And that's the end of the chapter. Oro appears at her window. Took him long enough. I was wondering if we were going to get him in this book at all, because we really don't care about him. All right, I will see you for the next chapter when I see you.
Before we go on to the next chapter, I would like to just take this moment to remind everyone that this video is brought to you by me. You see, I am a developmental editor, so if you're worried that your book has a lot of cool ideas, but maybe just isn't quite working, it might be time to hire a developmental editor. And hello, I'm available. Your first 5K words are only $25 to see if we would be a good fit. So message me and let's try it out.
Welcome back. It is a dreary day, probably going to snow later, but we have Skyshade to read. We are making good time. It's not as long of a book, which thank goodness, because I want to get this out to you ASAP. As usual, I'm behind. Everybody else reads faster than me and has their videos out already. But listen, the way that I do this is needlessly complicated. By the way, fun fact, I have tinnitus permanently. I just have tinnitus. And it gets louder when the weather is like changing, when like fronts are moving through. So my ears have been loud lately. This chapter is called Stormfinch. I wonder if the Stormfinch is gonna do something. But yes, Oro was outside the window, just hovering there like a weirdo, I assume. So she just opens the window and grabs him and hauls him through, which is a very funny mental image. But he is looking pretty sad and pathetic, and he just, like, collapses to the floor, and she's like, it must have taken him days to fly here. And I'm like, he has no access to portals? Like, did Grimm have all of the portaling ability for himself? Maybe. Lynx definitely is an Oro shipper because he drags a blanket over and, like, curls up around Oro on the floor. But, of course, Isla is, like, disgusted by it. She thinks that if she shows any sign of panic, that Grimm will just show up in the room. So apparently he can just sense when she's having heightened emotions in the room. Because she mentions, like, it used to be his room, so as though that explains anything. Like, he can just sense when she's having heightened emotions in his bedroom for some reason. Has he got it magically surveilled? I just don't understand. I thought she had to touch the life alert necklace, but I guess not. But I guess Oro showed up because he sensed that their bond was weakened, presumably when she put the bracelets on. But that was like weeks ago. So how long has he been flying, or did he take his time? Of course, this is mostly to rekindle the ship, and again, I like Oro as a person. He's the better of the two characters because at least he remains fairly consistent, unlike Grimm, who is like evil McEvil pants one book, and suddenly the best man / ruler in the whole world in the next book, just because the author needs us to hate him and then like him and then hate him and then like him. But Oro is consistent, and he's consistently just a good guy, which... call me a cliche if you want to, but that's what I like in a man. Somebody who's consistently a good person. I know, my standards are so high. I'm team justice for Oro more than I am wanting him to get with Isla, because, like, he needs a different person. I actually kind of ship Oro and Cleo, I'll be honest with you. I have a whole headcanon where they're, like, friends. I even wrote a very short fan fiction about it after the first book, if you want to go read that. Or maybe it was the second one. I think it was the first one. But yes, we're supposed to believe that she missed him a lot. She couldn't believe it. So many nights she had clutched the golden rose necklace to her chest and thought of him before burying her emotions down. Would have been nice to see that. Like, I want to see her, like, laying in bed, thinking long about Oro, not just she lay there and thought about him. I want to know the thoughts. Give us some depth. This author is allergic to depth on the page. This author expects you to provide your own depth. She wants you to come equipped. She wants the reader to do the majority of the emotional labor in their reading experience. Again, that is a little bit like fanfic. Sometimes fanfic, because it expects you to, like, know the characters in the scenario, it's like bring your own emotions to this because you already have them. And that's what this book kind of expects you to do. And maybe because we've read the other books, we're expected to just have them, but the other books were like that too. So again, we're supposed to believe that they have chemistry though. Like, she's fighting the urge to just throw her arms around him and kiss him. And I'm like, bitch, where? But unfortunately, before they can have anything approaching a conversation, the bird starts singing. Why is the bird in her room and not Grimm's room? Unclear. Yes, Isla procured the bird, but Grimm is the one who's been doing all the storm preparation. All Isla has been doing is running around murdering people. She's like, I need to go. Grimm's going to be here in seconds if I don't go to him first. So she leaves Oro in her bedroom. Will he still be there when she gets back? I don't know. But she portals to Grimm's room because she's like, I need to, like, head this off. So I guess Grimm didn't hear the Stormfinch after all, and he's just like, oh, hey, this is a pleasant surprise. What are you doing in my room? And she is like, oh, I needed help with my pajama buttons. Tactical genius here. Like, what? Why not say, hey, the Stormfinch is singing. Let's go out of the castle and deal with that. Fortunately, someone else in the castle is competent because somebody else heard the Stormfinch and started ringing the bells to warn the people to evacuate to the tunnels. Thank God somebody around here is doing their job. Even though now the bells are ringing and it's obvious that danger is coming, these two are still locked in this moment where she's like, undo my buttons. Like, danger is coming and she needs to capture this storm in her special ring, but she's still going with the buttons thing. So she sexily just he's unbuttoned her nightdress and she just lets it drop to the floor. And then she goes over and puts on a long sleeve shirt and pants. Did she bring them with her, or does he just have those in his bedroom? Very unclear where these are coming from. And then they both just go outside to deal with the scenario. So I guess we just had to have her sexily drop her clothes and then get dressed. So we know that he's attracted to her, which is already very well established. We smash cut to them riding on the dragon Also, hopefully Aura will be okay, as well as Lynx, left in the castle, because everybody else is retreating to the tunnels. Is the castle just expected to be fine through this big, giant storm? Oh, we get it's dropped in a throwaway line that she left her star stick in Grimm's room for some reason. So Grimm is like, I know you've been to see the augur, and she's like, how? And he's like, oh, because I've also been to see the augur, and I'm like, or he followed you invisible, because he could do that. But now just believe him that he's also been there. So they have a little romantic moment where Grimm's like, please just go through the portal so I can save you. And she's like, no, I can't, for I would be dooming so many people, and I am good and righteous sometimes. But then the storm hits them. We just randomly find out that her pants are supposed to be made of like impenetrable fabric because something like cuts her leg. And she's like, that's impossible. What are these pants? Where do they come from? Who made them? And why isn't she wearing them all the time? What the fuck? Where were these pants when she had her legs sliced open by that creature in the cave? You can't just be dropping plot points. You can't just be casually dropping plot points like that, Alex Astor. That's not how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
But it turns out metal is raining down on them. The special metal, the shade made, is like raining down on them. Metal hail. And also Grimm can't use his powers all of a sudden. So like they can't teleport out. Once again, the author finding reasons for her characters not to be able to use their powers. Because she's given them too many powers, they are too OP. Luckily, even though this dragon is huge, he is able to still somehow dodge the metal raining down on them. But of course, they have to get to the heart of the storm to use her ring. She can't just use this ring anywhere. It has to be the heart of the storm. Also, in one line, she said that she was wearing the special ring on her thumb, and now she's wearing it on her finger. Can we make up our mind? We can't even get simple things like that correct. Lightning starts striking her finger and getting absorbed into the ring, which is fine by everyone present, including the dragon. But now the falling metal is so thick that they're getting just hit by it no matter what they do. But fortunately, she seems to have collected enough storm. Because, again, Grimm doesn't have his powers, all he can do is wrap his giant man body around her to shield her from all of the falling metal, because that's what he does. That's the most romantic thing that this author can think of. He just keeps shielding her from projectiles. Remember in the previous book when his plan for getting past a whole bunch of traps was to just have him damage soak all of the traps? Somehow she, like, the ring comes off her finger as they're, like, falling from the sky, and I'm like, what? Why? Because she needs to go on a quest to find it again, or is she just gonna, like, happen to find it when she walks out her door the next morning? I don't understand the necessity of this. Why do we keep adding things, Alex? You have enough things. You need to put some things back and focus. This book lacks so much focus. She tries to jump off the dragon to go get the ring, but Grimm grabs her. Grimm should have worn his plate armor. Like, he has big spiky armor, but he's not wearing it apparently so that he can be sliced up by all of the metal pieces. I don't 100% understand now what is going on. Isla's like, I need something else to trap the storm, and she grabs her necklace. Are we talking about the Life Alert necklace? Are we talking about the rose necklace that Oro gave her? Are we talking about a different necklace that I've already forgotten about because there are too many things in this book? But she grabs it and then she like turns over, so she's like facing up on the back of this dragon. And when she looks at the sky, there's like creatures made out of lightning coming out of the storm. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? One of the lightning creatures attacks Wraith and gets him right in the neck, and then they're plummeting from the sky, and that is the end of the chapter. Do you think they're going to kill Wraith? Like, or disable him at least, because, like, the author doesn't know what to do with him? That's my theory. So, I will see you for the next chapter. Let's see, how long is the next chapter? Just so, like, do I want to read it right away? Maybe I do. Either way. Oh, it's pretty short. That's pretty short. I could probably read that right away. I'll see you then. Chapter 15 is called Broken. We are plummeting from the sky. Because everybody is in a huge hurry to, like, protect Isla, sacrifice themselves for Isla, the dragon, even though he's been stabbed through the throat by a lightning creature, manages to, like, flip over and cocoon Isla and Grimm in his wings as he plummets to Earth. So she wakes up coughing up seawater, and for a second she thinks she's drowning, but no, she's on land. And it turns out that when they got low enough, Grimm could use his powers, and so he portaled them over the sea so they could land in water, and then portaled them somewhere else, which I don't know if I think is stupid or actually kind of clever. Of course, Grimm is paying way more attention to Isla than his dragon, who is just like laying there, barely clinging to life, covered in injuries. I think I might have to give this. Someone tries to sacrifice themselves for Isla. Yeah, I'm going to give it that because she straight up says, like, he sacrificed himself for her, or he tried to. I bet it's going to happen again, but the dragon has started it going for this book. She looks up at the storm, and it's already moved on. I guess it was very quick. Like, storm over, it just needed to endanger our main characters for a hot minute, and then hurry on its way. All of these moments like this, where other characters are injured to protect the main character, are really just exist so that the main character gets to feel even more angst, even more guilt. It's all about the main character. So of course, they portal back to the stable, and she's like, now we have to take care of the dragon. And Grimm is like, let me take care of you first, even though the dragon is like actively dying and Isla's just a little bit cut up from the metal. Now all that she's distressed about, though, is worried that Grimm's going to portal her back to her room to take care of her injuries. And oh no, her other boyfriend is there! Teehee, what hijinks. So the reason that she left the star stick in Grimm's room was so that she could say, let's portal back to your room, I'll get my star stick and portal myself to my room. So we could have an excuse for her not to go straight to her own room. I guess the storm didn't harm the castle at all. Lucky, she goes back to her room. Oro is like there instantly, engulfing her in his strong, warm man arms. Now see, here's what you could do, Isla. She's not gonna, but here's what you could do. So I'm pretty sure that Oro has healing abilities. If I was Isla, I'd be like, let's bury the hatchet of this between you two guys. Let's get this rolling for our potential polyamory in the future. Come with me, we're going to the stables, and you are going to heal the dragon, which will make Grimm inclined to like you. And then you're gonna leave, so there's like none of this messy, odd couple thing with these two, but we're gonna restart your like tepid friendship. Again though, everything is about Isla and her personal angst, because she's like, oh, he came all this way and endangered his people by coming here himself, and I'm poisoning him. My love is poison. Like, I want to smack this girl.
I hated her so much.
It would be easier for me to tell Isla that not everything is about her if the book hadn't shaped the world around her. Isla decides the best way to deal with this situation is to make Oro hate her. A classic, if he hates me, then he'll stop wanting to rescue me. Dumb plot line that I haven't seen as much these days, but used to be around quite a bit in like some of the young adult books that I read when I was a teen. So she's like, okay, Oro, get this. I murder people. How does that make you feel? Immediately, he's like, I don't recognize you anymore. And then she portals them back to their room on Lightlark. And then she gives Oro his gold rose necklace back. Oh my goodness, what a horrible turn of events. And then at that exact moment, Zed comes in, because I guess he noticed the king was back somehow. He just walks into the king's room, and he also just happens to have his bow and a full quiver of arrows. And the moment that he locks eyes on Isla, he is sending 3 arrows towards her. This man is a superhero. Like, he's the Green Arrow. He's Legolas. What the hell?
That still only counts as one!
Oro throws up a starling shield, but of course, it only blocks 2 of the arrows, and the third one, like, hits her in the stomach, and I'm like, oh, no! Oro does have healing powers, though, so in a paragraph, he rips the arrow out and is got her mostly healed, like, at least partially healed, before she just, like, portals away, and she's like, BT dubs, I made my decision, don't come for me again. Oh my god. Oh, well, we waited a little ways into the book to have it. But she portals back, and Grimm is there instantly, cradling her in his manly arms. And what is the first thing he says? Say it with me. Who did this to you? The only reason that that scene existed is so that Isla can be like, everyone hates me. I can't go back because they shoot me on sight. And it's like, ugh. Bitch, again, I would say everything is not about you, except for everything is about her. So, of course, Grimm is like, oh no, my boo is injured, even though she'll totally recover. He needs to chill. Man has no chill. And he's like, bring me the very last vial of healing elixir that we still have, even though I thought we already used up the last one. But we have another last one. And Ren, who's also there for some reason, is like, but what about the dragon? And he's like, fuck the dragon. My girlfriend is injured. Okay, good. Grimm finally decides that it would be better to use the potion on the dragon rather than dumb old Isla. In the space of the paragraph where Oro was taking care of her, he didn't just use healing magic, he also stitched her up, because he totally had all of the supplies for that just sitting right there on his nightstand. And so Grimm is redoing the stitches, again, just like out in the open, like where she went to the outside of the keep, and he was just there because he can sense when she needs him, I guess. And now he's like freshly stitching. Somebody needs to talk to Alex Astor about how sequences of events work. Things don't just happen magically. Like, why did anybody have the materials to stitch her up? Did he portal somewhere and go get them? Did Ren have them on her? Why is he doing it out in the open? Like, everything moves at a ridiculous breakneck pace in these books. And this one is worse, I think, than the previous two. And we end the chapter with her thinking about how she hopes that she hurt Oro's feelings enough that he will never come back for her. So, that was that chapter. Yup. Certainly was a chapter that happened. Welcome back. It is time for more of this. Look at this. We're like already almost halfway through, which I'm pleased about. I'm happy that we're making good time through this book. Chapter 16, Aftermath. So the storm is over, but of course it caused great havoc. No inclination of whether the people actually fled to the tunnels. It just says that like everybody who was grabbed by the monsters just as like a smear on the floor of their homes, and without the healing elixir, the injured died. So good to know that we have like absolutely no other way to help injured people. The injured just blanketly died because there was no healing elixir. The dragon is of course still recovering because he got injured very much, trying to protect stupid Isla. So she can't fly back out and try to find the ring that she somehow dropped. And of course, poor Isla is just racked with guilt and angst, as usual, and she can't sleep, so she portals back to her vigilante rooftop, where Saoirse just happens to be waiting.
You're kidding, what a crazy random happenstance.
So she's chatting with Saoirse, and Saoirse is sad because her family's home was destroyed, which makes me go, that would have been great when Isla portaled to this rooftop. Like, the rooftop is apparently still here and still fine. Like, maybe give us an overview of some of the storm damage that Isla can see. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I like to use, what is my character seeing? Like, what are they looking at? What do they notice first? When I'm, like, not sure, like, if I get into a scene and I'm not sure what to describe, I use my character's eyes. What do they notice first? And I feel like Isla, if she's, like, so frickin' observant, would notice storm damage here in this city, at least to the roof on which she is currently sitting. But no, everything's fine. But Saoirse is sad. Saoirse has no family already. All of her family are already dead, of course. She's got the tragic backstory. Ooh, do I have even more tragic backstories? Oh yes. Okay, we're getting the bingo square for even more tragic backstories because Saoirse has a tragic backstory. Her family's dead. Her family home has been destroyed in the storm. She's just got nobody and no one. And also, the city in which she lives is just swimming with evil men. Isla's words of comfort are as follows. "I'm sorry," she said. "I hope you find another home. A better one." Wow. Such comforting, lovely words from Isla.
Yes, very sad. Anyway.
The next night, the girls are at their local bar, their usual haunt, and they're overhearing people talking about Isla's upcoming wedding. And all of the women are, of course, talking dresses and all of that stuff. And then other people are like, the wedding is like just for show. So I'm glad some people have fucking figured out that the rich fucks are just like, yeah, the poor are sad. Let's let them watch us get married.
Please Just a man with a metal hat who's only in charge because his father wore a metal hat before him.
It is the just give them a pizza party of the fantasy world. She had assumed the ceremony would be cancelled due to the storm, but now it seemed more important than ever. Morale was low. Oh, nothing gets the peasantry's morale up like watching rich people have a big party.
Let them eat cake.
Smash cut again to a night where Isla is tracking a man who had killed his wife and was now on the run. How she discerned all of this information, unimportant. So she, of course, gets the better of him, because why wouldn't she? But it says she had been changing up her killing techniques, not wanting her reputation as Heart Ripper to spread. But now she didn't have much choice. His heart it was. She's just straight up Jack the Ripper, but like killing the bad people, so it's okay. But she's like, oh man, I'm killing too many people in the same ways. I need to vary it up. No, never mind. I need to rip this guy's heart out. But even though she has stabbed him through the throat and the chest, this guy, he's still going. He's still fighting back. And he's like whispering confusing things to her. Oh no, it wasn't the man whispering things to her. It was somebody else who may or may not have been standing invisibly in this alley. But she finally... This man is just apparently really durable. She finally like stabs him again and gets the heart this time, and he finally dies, even though he had been previously stabbed through the throat. But Grim is hanging out there, giving her murder instructions. Surprising no one, because this man, once again, can be invisible, intangible, and teleport anywhere. He can follow Isla wherever he wants. Of course, he's probably going to be charmed by the fact that she murders people, unlike that boring old stiff Oro who doesn't like when she murders people. He wasn't upset. He wasn't disgusted. There was something about him seeing the worst of her and not flinching. Oh my god. For some reason, she decides that this situation calls for a dagger to his throat. I'm not even really sure why, other than that's the trope. So she's, of course, very turned on, and she leans closer, and she drops her dagger, but he catches it, and he puts it into her pocket. Not a sheath, just a loose dagger in her pocket. They are now engaging in heavy petting in this alley next to the corpse of the man she just murdered. Every girl's dream. I'm a little bit concerned about Alex Astor at this point. Like, is this her fantasy to be able to just kill someone and then a man is turned on? Like, they both have blood on them from this man, and they're like smearing blood on each other as they like feel each other up. And then like, is this sexy? Maybe I, as an asexual, am just way too tuned out of what people find sexy. Like, please explain this to me in the comments. Is this sexy? But of course, they don't actually do it in the alley. They just engage in a lot of heavy petting, and then he teleports away, leaving her pressed against the wall. I don't know why he teleports away. Like, why couldn't they have sex in the alley? Unclear. Unfortunately, the next chapter is kind of long, and my day is already getting away from me, so I will catch you probably tomorrow for the next chapter. But hey, we got a bingo square today, and that's exciting. We are back for another chapter real quick. Just trying to kind of read a chapter or two a day. Here we go. Chapter 17, Clasp. Is it clasping hands? The clasp to a necklace? Place your votes here. We're getting close to the wedding celebration. All of a sudden, Isla is like not into it. She's like, I hope a storm comes and blows all the tents away, the tents that we're putting up. Good to know that, like, these people, their wedding traditions are probably exactly like the boring wedding traditions of wealthy white Americans. So right away in the morning, a bunch of women show up, faceless, voiceless women. They adorn Isla in, finery and makeup, and then they just leave. Yeah, now, for some reason, she started to think about how agreeing to this wedding was a mistake. Would have been great to have any of those thoughts, but I understand why not, because this author gave this character too many things to think about. She's got too many things. Oh, the one big difference, though, is that in Nightshade, brides wear black, because we have an aesthetic to upkeep. So basically, it's a black ball gown style wedding dress. Her cousin shows up, and Isla just, throws her arms around her, because they're friends now. And finally, we get an answer to the question of whether the men in these wedding ceremonies have to wear a necklace. And I guess they do, but Grimm just didn't have his, even though he like basically glued Isla's wedding necklace to her permanently. He doesn't wear his. Also, of course, it's just a simple chain. It's not anything gaudy because he's a man. Oh, we're retconning. Grimm was totally wearing this during the centennial. She remembers seeing it now. Apparently, Grimm built her a greenhouse at some point. He totally had time for this. It is shaped like an orb, and somehow it has not been destroyed in the storms. So did he, like, just build it? It's unclear. But he built her a beautiful orb greenhouse to be, like, life and color in his world of black and death. Once again, we don't actually know what much of this island looks like, because we avoid describing anything. Okay, he gave this to her as a wedding present the first time they were married, which means that somehow this greenhouse has survived all of the storms. Unsure how large this greenhouse is, but there are crowds, quote unquote. Are some of them inside and some of them outside the greenhouse? What's the seating like? No idea, unimportant. But oh, weird, the officiant is Etta, ETA? The prophet follower she had spoken to before. I guess that she officiates weddings sometimes. She comes down from the mountain to do that. Isla is weirded out by her being here, so it's not just me. Seems like the reason that Grimm got her is because she could solidify that their marriage is like written and prophesized, and that will calm people down. Because as long as a prophet said it somewhere, everybody's on board. In this world, we 1000% believe in prophecies exactly as they seem to be written. Of course, it's working. It was a brilliant plan on Grimm's part. Genius. Everybody's going to like her after this because it's been prophesied. That way, Isla doesn't have to put forth any effort to do any kind of leadership whatsoever. There's one thing, I will say one thing that is established in all of these books. Isla sucks as a leader. That is one characteristic that this author can definitely stick to. It is a necklace clasp because they are clasping the necklaces onto each other as part of the marriage ceremony. Also, it also refers to a hand fasting ceremony because we are being so original with our wedding. I mean, I expected basically this. Are they going to pour sand into the same container next? By the way, no tea, no shade if that's what you did at your wedding. That's perfectly fine and you were right to do that. It's more that this author is so unimaginative that she cannot come up with anything different or new for this culture. She takes a moment to wonder if she really wants to clasp the necklace on him because this means they're like double married for real, no takesy backsies, but she does. Music began to play. What type of music? No fucking clue. We can't be arsed. I'm going to assume it is metal. Considering this place, it probably is, like screaming metal. Alternately, it is like 2000s emo. They do some kind of undescribed circle dance. One thing that Alex Astor can get away with is claiming that things have always existed and Isla totally remembers them because Isla had her memory wiped. So like she doesn't sometimes remember things until they're right in front of her. And so she forgot about the garden that he made her, and now she remembers. And she remembers when he first gave it to her. Again, we're not actually getting to see that scene. She's just telling us these things. But it's an easy cheat for her to tell rather than showing, because she can just be like, oh, Isla didn't remember until now. And then she also remembers when they had sex in the greenhouse, because these two could not keep their hands off of each other in the past. She totally admits to herself that she actually loves him. We're walking. This is not even close to kind of making me feel an emotion. Like, I am so separated from having any kind of emotion about these people that the thought of it is almost laughable. They're also dancing, feeling each other up while they dance, and attempting to make sexy banter. But Alex Astor's actually quite bad at sexy banter as well. That is one thing I will say for the author of Powerless. She was not bad at banter. She just had way too much of it. Less is more sometimes. Just because you're skilled at something doesn't mean your book has to be wall-to-wall the thing that you're skilled at. So Grimm is doing a huge, elaborate love confession about how much he knows her and how much they're cut from the same cloth. And she looked at him with many emotions but never fear, which I don't think is accurate. I'm pretty sure she's looked at him with fear before. But again, it feels nothing. I am completely unaffected because we have not built these characters into a ship that we want to see. Anybody who ships them, I feel, has brought their own personal imaginations, their own personal headcanons, their own personal feelings into this ship, instead of the feelings and the canon and the gross and the chemistry actually having been built by the characters and the writing. She spotted a smirking solider. It's supposed to be soldier. This is a typo that I make a lot because in my current work in progress, there's an army and a lot of soldiers, and I make this typo all the time. But yeah, I mean, further proof that typos do definitely make their way into traditionally published books, and we should stop pretending that they don't. And somehow we still manage, after that huge love confession, after all this lovey-dovey stuff, we still have to have it ending with her saying, and he should feel lucky, she thought, that she didn't reach for her blade. So we still are trying to have the will they, won't they, even though these two just got fucking married. I think Alex is terrified of having to try to write a functioning couple. Creepiness is once again kind of put off as, yes, this is like sexy, and I think I have that bingo square. She notices that Grimm has noticed everything about her. The second she likes something, has a favorite food, has wine that she likes better, he immediately takes note of it, so he will only serve that. He studies her so closely that he is tailoring her entire existence around her likes and dislikes, and that's actually creepy. That's way too closely to be studying someone. Yes, notice someone's favorites and try to make that happen, but this guy is non-stop trying to bend the world around Isla's preferences. So I'm going to put toxic relationship equals sexy, because that's creepy. It's creepy. She notices that Tara and Poppy were not invited to the wedding, which makes me go, okay, well, maybe you should be concerned about what they are doing while everyone else is here at the wedding. I don't know if Isla's going to think of that, though. Nope, she buried that feeling down. Good. Music was playing in wild plucks. I don't know what wild plucks are. Are there guitars, harps? The only thing it gives me is maybe there's a stringed instrument and the music may be upbeat. Of course, everybody's really enjoying the party and having a great time, so Isla's perfect. This is exactly what our morale needed. A rich person wedding. So she's hanging out with Grim Daddy at the wedding, and all of a sudden a guard rushes over and whispers something to Grim. So, oh no, trouble. The only way that this author knows how to end things like a party is if they get interrupted by trouble. Isla is concerned that the crowds will see that a guard came rushing up and whispered something, so she decides that the best way to deal with this scenario is to push Grim up against a tree and kiss him. Because we had to get that trope in there, and we were really struggling for a place to put it, so I guess this is where we landed on. They start making out hardcore in front of everyone. Oh, if I hadn't marked off the toxic thing, I would have put it here. He growled into her ear as if the word had escaped. Mine. Creepy. Although maybe they're just a little kinky, because she grabs the chain around his neck and pulls him closer by it, and she says mine right back. So maybe they're just a little kinky. This smooch to distract everybody is literally turning into dry humping against this tree while everyone watches. Yeah, he's fixing to give her a hand job here at this wedding. So hugely inappropriate, but I guess maybe they're also exhibitionists. Maybe they are kinkier than I thought they were. Or maybe this is just what happens at Nightshade weddings. I don't know. Maybe the bride and groom just have sex in front of everybody. It's tradition. Do they clap after? Do people clap after? Eventually they realize that maybe they shouldn't have sex in front of a crowd, so he grabs her up in his arms and portals her somewhere else. So they just left their own wedding to very obviously have sex. Now, probably this is just going to be her clever ploy to get him away from everybody so they can talk about what the guard just said. But the optics are amazing. Yep, it was all definitely just a ploy, even though they were extremely thirsty for each other. But now he portaled her to the place that the guard had spoken about, and it was the graveyard, and all of the graves have been destroyed. Is somebody raising an undead army, perhaps? But there's a snake in the middle of the disturbed graves, and it's a rattlesnake, apparently, because it rattles its tail at her, and then digs down into the dirt, and she was like, follow the snakes. I need to go underground, apparently. And also she's like, this is the work of a wildling because it happened really fast. Nobody could dig up this many graves this quickly, so it must have been a wildling, which we already knew. We know we have a wildling trader. She was already told that, part of the quest hook. She leaves Grim there. She grabs her star stick. She leaves Grim there, and she portals off to where she, I guess, knows that Tara and Poppy will be somehow. She knows that they're going to be here. She portals back to her old home. And sure enough, Tara and Poppy are there, and Poppy looks like she's been crying, and Tara is just eating her dinner. How did Isla know they would be here? Why didn't Isla think about the fact that they weren't invited before? Details. So Isla's like, I'm certain it's you. You both destroyed the Nightbane. You both just disturbed a gravesite. Why would they disturb the gravesite? Like, we need to think a little bit deeper here, Isla. Not just that they did it, but why might they be doing it? But she's just like, yeah, you guys did it. Tara is like, no, we didn't do any of those things, and also we didn't kill your parents, but Isla is not convinced. By the way, I haven't really been talking about it too much because we already covered it pretty well in the previous books, but this author's style is all tell and no show. I know that it can be difficult to find a balance of showing and telling, and I'm certainly not saying that I have mastered it either, but this author has no show, only tell. So if you ever want to read an example of what a book that is all tell looks like, this is it. Her attempts at showing are just things like, her heart was hammering, her eyes burned. That's all we ever get. That is as deep as we get when it comes to showing anything. Sometimes doing short, snappy sentences like that can be effective, but this author doesn't have anything else in her toolbox. For some reason, rather than fight them herself, she grabs her life alert necklace, and Grim shows up immediately, so why didn't she just bring him along? Unclear. But he shows up, and she's like, imprison these two. Even though I have been going vigilante and killing people, these two I want imprisoned. And for some reason, she strode out of the castle away from Poppy's cries and Tara's curses. She portaled there. Why is she walking out? The things. All right, I need to go make lunch. Thank you for joining me for a chapter today. I'm eating breakfast and reading at the same time because I'm always trying to do two things at once. I have a lot to do today, so let's get reading with chapter 18 called Written. I don't know, Isla. This chapter opens with her guardians were the traitors. She shouldn't be surprised. They had betrayed her before. So why did it hurt so badly? Why did it make her question everything? Yeah, why did it hurt so badly or make her question everything? And what is the everything that she's questioning? And also, obviously, her guardians aren't the traitors. We're like halfway through the book. The traitor is someone else, and probably it's that other named wildling character that she trusts.
Get used to disappointment.
Either way, I think we're getting a surprise baddie reveal for the bingo card. I still don't completely understand why Isla is on borrowed time. Like, she keeps talking about she's got weeks to live before she just dies, I guess. And Grim doesn't seem terribly distressed about that either. So either he doesn't know, or he fully intends to just like open the other portal and save her life, and he just hasn't told her. Because otherwise this man would be so upset about the fact that she's like about to perish. I don't remember what she's about to perish from, except for the fact that her life is tied to Grim's. And I guess that has a time limit? It's very confusing. So Isla goes to the blacksmith and she's like, I need another MacGuffin. I need you to make me an item that can detect other items. I need a metal detector, basically, to find the ring that I fucking lost for no reason, other than the fact that the author needed the plot to be longer. I feel like making it a ring was a mistake, because like, how do you lose a ring that's on your hand? It just like flew off her finger somehow. Make it something that's easier to fly off, like maybe it's a bracelet and the clasp fails or something like that. Oh, he's like, I can't make you an object that can detect other powerful objects, but I have made one, but it is lost. Are we finally going on a MacGuffin hunt? A classic MacGuffin hunt? I feel like Alex in this book keeps setting up where we're expecting a MacGuffin hunt, and then she's like, haha, it's not a MacGuffin hunt, because I think she probably got criticized for how book 2 was all MacGuffin hunts all the time. So instead, she's like, okay, well, it's lost and there's no way I can look for it. So what else you got, blacksmith? And he's like, well, this is all very convoluted and it's taking me longer to explain it than it did to like type it out probably, because everything is very short and quick. So he explains that how he made the tracking item involved a ruler whose flair was finding things. He's a finding guy. I guess that would have been really useful, actually. I could have used that kind of magic, honestly, in my life. And he also had a marking. What is a marking? No idea. Is it a tattoo? Is it a birthmark? I don't know. But he had a marking. New lore just dropped. There's things called markings, and markings carry power, so maybe Isla has to find his marking. Is he like tagging buildings? Like what? So Isla's like, oh, markings, you mean skyres. Skyres. I have no idea how we want that pronounced. Skyres sounds cool, so maybe I'm going to stick with that. But she's like, yeah, you mean skyres? And Blacksmith's like, how do you know about skyres? And I don't remember how we know about skyres. Oh, Isla shrugged a single shoulder. Grimm's not doing it, but Isla is this time. So apparently whatever this marking / skyer is, if you use them, they drive you mad. Even the best people can turn into horrible, depraved monsters over time. Of course, Isla will not, because she's the strongest person in the entire universe, but other people might be in danger. So conveniently for Isla, this guy has half a skyer just laying around, and it's a dagger, of course, because these girls use daggers. I should have put daggers on the bingo card. That could have been the middle square as well. But he's like, here, I have half of one, and to make the other half could kill you. And of course, Isla's like, pshaw. Oh, the dagger isn't the skyer. The skyer is marked on the dagger. I guess a marking is just a symbol or maybe a rune, but this author didn't want to use runes because the Silly Dragon book already had those. So she just traces the marking with a piece of paper. For some reason, the blacksmith is treating this rune marking whatever as though it is not half of one, but the full thing, because he's like, you need a piece of whatever's lost, and then this will help you track it. Like a dog sniffing something. Could she not like have Lynx help her? Anyway, she's like, I don't have a piece of the ring. But she does have now this findy rune thingy-bob. It's a MacGuffin. Have I marked off more MacGuffins? I feel like I probably already have. Yep, I've already marked off more random MacGuffins, but we got another one, folks. So Isla's like, all right, I have this half of this skyer, and I do actually, she doesn't tell the blacksmith this, but she's like, I do actually know somebody who knows about skyers. That person is dead, though. And I'm like, is it Celeste? We're getting her back in this story. Yep. She goes to talk to not Tom Riddle's journal about this marking that she found. Apparently, Celeste was just always wearing gloves in book 1 that we never heard about, but she was always wearing really long gloves that hid, like, markings on her arms. Oh my god, the retconning is so bad. I've already marked off retcons on the bingo card, but yeah, Celeste was always wearing gloves, really long gloves, and she totally had markings on her arms. So Isla, of course, asks not Tom Riddle's journal, and the magic feather answers back, like, yes, I know about these. And Isla's like, why would you help me? And the feather says, redemption, which I do not believe for a moment. Isla asks no further questions, by the way. She doesn't ask, like, why redemption or no follow-ups. That's just the entire conversation. Do you know how to make these? Will you help me, and why?
Forgive my nasally voice. Julian from the future has COVID. Anyway, so one big glaring thing that you notice in this book is that while Isla can supposedly communicate with her dead bestie who betrayed her, Isla has no emotions about it. She's more upset about her old tutors than she is about Celeste supposedly being able to talk to her from beyond the grave. She doesn't process it. She doesn't get angry or sad or anything. She doesn't ask Celeste, why did you do this to me? Like, how could you do this to me? She never interrogates, like, why do you want redemption and how do you want it? Like, nothing. No thoughts, head empty. And one thing that I have heard, and I'll probably talk about later, is that Alex Astor has aphantasia, so she can't imagine visuals in her head, which makes it really hard to be a writer, but that's not what we're going to talk about here. But I don't know why she doesn't also seem able to imagine other people's emotions. Like, Isla is such an emotionless brick. Like, the only emotion she can have is anger and guilt, and then barely, and not for long. So yeah, if you were hoping for some big emotional beat involving potentially being able to communicate with her dead friend who betrayed her, you're gonna be disappointed.
But Isla has a lot of pent-up rage built up from the day, so she goes on one of her vigilante rampages and kills bad people. We don't see any of it, we're just told that's what she's been up to. Then she goes to her usual rooftop, where once again, Saoirse, who has nothing better to do with her life, is waiting with food and drinks. They don't communicate. Saoirse just instinctively knows where Isla is and when Isla will want to be on the roof. That or Saoirse just lives on this roof. Oh, you guys, Isla is so humble. She's so humble, you guys. Because Saoirse is like, gently poking fun at her and all of the nicknames that she's accrued. And Isla says, I don't like names or titles. They come with expectations. And so often I fall short of them. This is the author being like, I'm not constantly praising my main character. No, she's so humble. She doesn't want names or titles. So Saoirse is just here to be Isla's yes woman because Isla's feeling sorry for herself. And Saoirse says, don't do that. Don't underestimate yourself when you're trying. So many people never bother. They decide they can't make a difference, so they don't even try. And trying, that's the hardest part. Not succeeding, but all the trying it takes to get there. Wow. That would mean a lot more if Isla was actually trying. The only thing that she's trying to do is occasionally be a vigilante. Otherwise, everything that Isla does is very self-serving. Like, she's like, I need to figure all this stuff out for me, basically. She claims that, it's to save all of these people's lives so Grimm doesn't open the portal and kill everyone. But really, also Isla is just, like, actively dying. I don't know why we needed to add that ticking clock on there, but it also makes her a lot more self-centered because all of her focus is on figuring out that scenario, not on other people, not on being a ruler, not on anything else. Herself living and solving the problem, which would be a lot easier to focus on if the problem didn't just keep morphing and changing into weird new magical issues. Saoirse just out here to pad Isla's ego. Saoirse says, why do you do this? Why do you care about us? If only Saoirse knew that Isla was just doing this for her own ends. Like, she needed a bunch of hearts, and now she's just killing bad people because she has a lot of rage pent up and she needs to murder about it. And at least she's decided to kill bad people instead of good people. But Saoirse's like, oh, she's here to help us downtrodden folk. And I'm like, no, she's not. Has Alex Astor ever had wine? She fiddled with the cap at the top of the wine bottle. The cap? You mean the cork, right? Or are wine bottles in Fantasyland just capped like bottles of soda? Alex, sweetie, how old are you? She writes like a child, and it feels like she has a child's mentality about the world. I'll be really interested to see like her, I don't know if I'll like read the whole thing or anything, but I am interested to see how her contemporary romance goes. Like, does she sound like an inexperienced child in that one too? It's just little things that make me think that Alex has not experienced very much of life yet, which makes sense if she's rich and sheltered. Again, I'm just making huge assumptions. I know nothing about this woman, so like if me making assumptions about her bothers you, I apologize. Just making assumptions. People could assume a lot of things wrong about me from my books too. So Saoirse was about to share more of her personal tragic backstory, but Isla suddenly got like a premonition and she's like, I need to leave. Oh, but no, I guess the wine was poisoned. She took one drink of the wine. One. And I guess that was poisoned. I guess maybe Saoirse was playing a long game, which is good because otherwise she was going to be a very boring character. But also, more proof that Isla can never ever have friends, especially women friends, even ones that the narrative just like fully hands to her, because women cannot be friends with women. Obviously, women are always just going to betray you. I can't wait for my best friends of over 10 years to betray me. They are really playing the long game, I have to say. But she wakes up in the middle of a river, on an island in the middle of the river, surrounded by people she knows from the bar. So everybody at the bar was in on this, whatever the fuck this is. Is it more of the rebels? Whatever the rebels were doing in book 2? Oh, they're wearing robes. If those robes are beige, it's the beige rebels. So these people left her with all of her weapons, but they took her star stick. Oh my god. It's a cult obsessed with the prophecy. I almost hate this worse than Saoirse being just a regular old traitor. Saoirse's like, no, we're not here to kill you. We've waited hundreds of years for you. You're Jesus. They're not rebels, they're prophet followers. They desperately need a better name. Could an editor have not helped? Alex asked her to come up with a better name for these people than prophet followers. I'm going to call them cultists probably from now on. But they're all kneeling around her because I guess she's the prophesied savior. I should have had 8 million more prophecies on my bingo card because everything is prophecies this book. Last book, it was hunting MacGuffins. This book, it's prophecies and snakes. So Isla's like, what the heck is this prophecy now? And Saoirse says, at the end of the world, a girl will be born from life and death. The girl will either destroy the world or save it. She would either curse, she would be either a curse or a remedy. Don't you see? You are the girl, the one that was promised. Wow, I hate it so much. This is like a collection of the tropes that I dislike most in fantasy books. Like, I don't necessarily dislike prophecies as a whole, although I wish people were more creative with them. But also, this character, the main character, is the most powerful person in the entire world. She has the most powers. She's so powerful. And also, there's a prophecy that she's the chosen one who could either save or end the world. Oh, it's a death cult. So they're like, we sacrifice ourselves to you, and the one guy, like, runs himself through with a sword. Oh, he made her? Okay. Oh, this is so stupid and complicated. So he didn't just run himself through. He made her, he acted like he was handing her a sword, like, here's a sword by the hilt. She put her hand on it, and he then ran himself through with her hand on the sword. So Isla now feels that she killed him, even though she did not. Her hand was just also holding the sword when he ran himself through. I hate it. I also hate guilt. I'm fine with characters being guilty about things, but I hate guilt as a full motivator for a character. I hate characters whose only personality trait is feeling guilty. Isla is just a perfect amalgamation of all the things that I personally don't like in characters. Of course, some part of her feels a little bit, like, thrilled by it, even though, again, she didn't kill him. Don't take the credit for this death. There was a beast inside her. She had known it for a while. It enjoyed taking life. You can't just declare these things. You have to show us. And her occasionally being a vigilante and one time her kind of feeling good about killing somebody doesn't count. This author is, as usual, trying to speed run character arcs. Saoirse says, don't be concerned, promised. You will take us somewhere else, somewhere better. And I'm like, do these people believe in an afterlife? And if so, what? We don't know, because there's really no actual world building, just confusing things that the author thought would be cool. So all of them have drawn their swords and are, like, circling in around her like, stab us, Isla, stab us. This is great. So Isla made a friend who turned out to be a cultist who wants to be stabbed to death by Isla. I mean, I didn't have that on the bingo card. I don't know why this would be the case. She's like, I could use my life alert necklace and summon Grimm, but he'd probably just kill everyone, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. And I'm like, would he just appear? These people are aiming the swords at themselves. Would he appear and just kill all of them? Like, this is the Grimm Apology Tour book, so he might actually, like, pause and take in the situation. Saoirse decides that since Isla won't kill her, she should do a little incentive, and she punches Isla in the face, and I'm so okay with it. These people take Saoirse's cue, and they start attacking Isla in hopes that she will kill them. Isla's like, no, I won't kill them. I just have to incapacitate all of them, which I'll be able to do because I'm a superhero. Isla's pockets are just full of throwing stars. This woman must be so uncomfortable at all times because she doesn't sheath anything. So she must be constantly being jabbed by daggers and throwing stars. But she's hitting people in, like, the shins and stuff like that because she wants to incapacitate them. Oh no, she's accidentally killed one. Oh, he fell and he hit his head on the rock and now he's dead. So this author couldn't figure out a way to get Isla to organically, like, start killing innocents. So she made this death cult that is going out of their way to get stabbed by Isla. Like, another person ran up and literally, like, threw himself on Isla's blade, so she stabbed him in the heart. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is such a mess that I don't even know how we could write ourselves out of this. This is the kind of nonsense that just comes from sheer desperation to get words on the page and nothing else. Saoirse has shadow powers, apparently, so now she and her shadow self are fighting Isla. Isla stabs Saoirse's shadow self, even though if Isla thought about this for a few seconds, she would just not fight back. Like, drop your weapons and don't fight back. These people aren't going to kill you because they just already told you that you are their chosen savior. So if you won't kill them, and you just, like, stand there, like, clasp your hands behind your back, let them beat on you for a while, whatever, you can take it, you're a badass. And just don't kill them. It's so easy. But no, Isla is compelled to fight back and defend herself because she's a badass, lest we forget. And so she stabs Saoirse's shadow, and that kills Saoirse. So Isla ended up killing everybody on this rock, including Saoirse, her friend, heavy quotes. What a just absolute pile of ridiculousness has happened here. This is why I keep reading these books, because the bonkers bullshit that happens in the Lightlark books is unparalleled. And that's basically it. Isla gets her star stick back because Saoirse had it, and now Saoirse is dead, and that's the end of that chapter. What was that chapter called? Written? Oh, because her past has been written. She is the prophesied one who will do something. Not sure what. End the world or save it. Whatever that fucking means. I'll see you for the next chapter when I see ya. Right, we are back for some more of this book. The shininess of the green looks really nice in the viewfinder, but that's all this book has going for it, unfortunately. Chapter 19, Secrets. So, as I recall, Isla was just dealing with some cultists. She's arriving back in her room covered in blood, as she often does. I feel like Isla is covered in blood more than she is not covered in blood. Grimm immediately sensed this and teleported to her room. I don't know why she needs the life alert necklace, because she just has to be in mild distress and Grimm shows up. Of course, his first question, who did this to you? This author's like, not only will I have the tropes that you love and the lines that you want the characters to say, but we gotta put them in there 8 bazillion times. If I repeat it enough, it'll make my book good, right? She gets in the bath, and Grimm portals her clothing away. Where? Unclear, but I like to think that, like, he just portals them, like, out into the street or something, and somebody's just walking along in bloody clothes, like, appear in front of them, and they're just like, oh, what the fuck? But he portals her clothes away and then starts bathing her, because that's another sexy check mark. We should have Bad Book Bingo and the romance checklist. And then so he just gives her a little bath. It only is about 3 paragraphs, and then we jump cut to Isla and the blacksmith again. So for some reason, Isla says, I'm done pretending to be powerless. She wants her bracelets removed. Like, I would have loved a bit more of her thought process as to why she's decided to do this. Did a bunch of cultists killing themselves for her spur her on to do this for some reason? And if so, why? Of course, even the blacksmith has to gas her up, so she's like, I'm done pretending to be powerless, and then he says, my dear, you've never been powerless a day in your life. Isla has a thought that the blacksmith seems really busy for somebody who's, like, preparing to die. I have no idea if that thought is going to go anywhere. Is that a clue? Is he the traitor? Is that supposed to be a clue? But we smash cut to the next scene. That scene was also about 3 paragraphs. So we have a character opening this new scene with light reading, and then we go several lines before we find out who said that. And I would definitely identify the speaker, you know, get the dialogue and the speaker, and then tell us what's happening in the scene. But we don't, and it's confusing. And I was like, who's talking? Because it seemed like Isla was alone until later on we identified that Astria is hanging out with Isla, and Isla is reading a giant tome about the Skyers. Apparently, Astria is always wearing armor, so much so that Isla wonders if she takes it off to sleep. I feel like we could have gotten this across through showing rather than telling. Now that Isla's powers are reawakened, Isla sneezes and a flower appears. Also, Isla has spent this much book absolutely terrified of her powers, 100% certain that the moment she got her powers back, she was going to massacre the nearest village. And she has not yet given it any thought. she's just reading a book. She's just chill. So she got her powers back so she could go to the library. I'm very confused why she decided to get her powers back. Astria was like, did you make that flower from sneezing? And Isla's like, if you tell anybody, I will stab you. And for some reason, Astria like starts laughing hysterically. Like, this is the funniest joke she's ever heard. She is like doubled over, sobbing with laughter. And I'm like, what is going on? Of course, both Isla and Astria are romance girlies, because what else would they be? So Isla was like, hey, what books do you like to read? And Astria's like, oh yeah, romance. And Isla's like, there's romance books in this library? Apparently this library is chock full of real person fanfic about Grimm. Are these published works? Like, I don't know what publishing is like in this fantasy land, but are these like published works in this library that are just fanfic about the ruler, like Your Name fanfic about the ruler of their land? And she's like, what would Grimm think if he knew that it was all just real person fanfic about him? And I'm like, this is his library. Maybe presumably he stocked it. Like, he probably knows. He probably did this on purpose. Maybe he did some sort of competition throughout the land to write the best fan fiction about him. So Isla decides that she should ask Astria some questions about her father, since, you know, Astria knew her father. And so she was like, hey, how did my dad find out he was immune to curses? And Astria's like, oh, during the curse, he like fell asleep outside one time and woke up at night and he wasn't dead. And I'm like, oh, so he was an idiot then. And, out of the blue, Asteria's like, your dad liked maps. So certainly this is going to be a clue that pushes Isla on towards whatever MacGuffin she's pursuing at this time. She's definitely like one of those players. You know how I told you that going to the prophet followers and getting all of those quests was like when you're playing a video game and you just get a bunch of quests all at once? Isla's one of those players who doesn't follow one quest at a time. She jumps around between them, which is fine if you're playing a video game, but not really great for a book. You could pull it off. A better writer could pull it off. Definitely, like, I would put more reminders about which quest we're pursuing at this time. Again, all we're learning is that her dad is an idiot, or was an idiot. At one point, I guess he built a really shitty boat and tried to sail away and almost drowned. So I guess almost drowning runs in Isla's family, but he wanted to be an explorer. And then Isla's like, hey, do you have any of my dad's maps, perchance? And Astria's like, yeah, they're in your dad's room, which is completely untouched because, like, why would we ever touch anything? Like, people die in this world, and then their room just stays the same forever. Nobody ever uses that space for anything else, although I would love it if Grimm turned her father's room into, like, a sewing nook. It's just full of exercise equipment. And then Asteria just, like, fucking leaves because she has imparted the information she came to impart, like the good little NPC that she is, and then she leaves. And Isla teleports into her family's castle, which I guess her dad had 2 rooms. He had one here at Grimm's castle, and then he had another personal one at her family's castle because, you know, that's where he lived with her mother. And his maps, she figures, are going to be at that one. Apparently Tara and Poppy are still popular because the wildlings are upset about the imprisonment of Tara and Poppy. So she gets to her dad's room and she realizes that there's no handle or even a keyhole. The man had some security measures in place. She thinks about portaling in with her star stick, but then doesn't do that. She doesn't have to, though, because all she sees is just a push door. She just pushes on the door and it opens. She's like, ah, how clever of my father to have no handle and no key. There's not even a latch. You just push the door open.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
All that's in the room are a mirror, a bed, and a wardrobe. But that was all a glamour, because as soon as she steps into the room, suddenly the rest of the room is revealed, and there are stacks of books and letters and probably all of the clues that she will need for this part of the story. So she says that one of the maps, her dad's maps that she finds, shows a place to the west of Nightshade that is very mysterious and unexplored. And I was like, okay, well, where's Nightshade on this map? I was like, let's see what, like, if they show anything to the west. Nightshade, the place where we're spending the majority of this book, isn't even on this map. It is, like, there's an arrow pointing off. Nightshade is in this direction. That is so lazy. We're not even gonna put Nightshade on the map in the inside of the book, even though we have spent 50% of this book at Nightshade. Boy, we do not care. The people creating this book did not care. Everybody involved, not a single one of them cared. And the name for the mystery lands that are off to the west of Nightshade that her father has given it, presumably, is Isla. So stupid. It's all so stupid. I might read the next chapter right away. It's pretty short. I'll see you then. Let us carry on with chapter 20, which is called Mirror. So if Isla's like, well, my name means island, she took the map and placed it in the pocket of her cape. Why does her cape have pockets when we already know for a fact that everything she's wearing is covered in pockets that she puts knives and throwing stars into? Why specifically her cape pocket? This man has a lot of stuff, a lot of information in his room, letters, books, everything, and it just kind of makes you wonder why Isla never thought to investigate, like, her parents' rooms until now. So she just thinks about her parents for a minute and how they might have met, and then, and she points out the parallels between her and Grimm's relationship and theirs, and then she portals out with the map, the one map. She doesn't think to grab anything else, maybe take some more books or letters back with her to study. No, just the one map. Because she's so good with her star stick now, she's like, maybe I can teleport to this island that's like barely defined on my father's map. When did we go? Like, I know that Grimm helped her get better at using it in the previous book, and she has those memories now, but like, how did she get to the point where she could just literally teleport anywhere with no concern or effort? She tries it anyway, and she just yeets herself into her star stick portal without looking first, apparently, and oh no, she's in the ocean. And she's like literally holding the map above her head so it doesn't get wet as she's splashing around in the ocean. This girl is so dumb. So she's just like, Starstick, take me anywhere, and she ends up on a beach. She's just on a random island. She doesn't know where, but if this is the island that she was looking for, boy, everything really is just handed to this character. The author's like, I'm going to put puzzles in Isla's way, and then I'm immediately going to give her the solution to those puzzles. Again, she was like nothing but stressed about using her powers in the past. But all we get is, in the days since she'd had the bracelets removed, she had been hesitant to use her power. What happened to little miss? If I use even a shred of my power, I will murder thousands of people. Like, none of that now that her powers are back. The author just decided that Isla needs her powers for the second half of the book, so she's just gonna get over her hang-up about her powers. So she's like, I'm gonna use my nature abilities to help me explore this deserted island, because there's trees and there's animals and stuff here. I like how this island is apparently super far from everything she's ever known, but the climate here is exactly the same. She decides not to use her nature powers. She's just going to fly, because that's another power that she has. Now that she can just fly, I don't even think we need the dragon anymore. Is that why we injured the dragon? Or is that why she got her powers back? I'm confused which happened first. Did we injure the dragon so that Isla could fly, or did the author giving Isla back her ability to fly mean we needed to get rid of the dragon? I'm so confused why anything in this book. Like, the authorial choices are baffling. So we have a little Superman learning to fly, very short montage where she's struggling because she has never actually flown before by herself. And then she decides, well, I've seen how big the island is. We have no idea. We're told that she saw how big it was. No hints for us, the reader, but Isla knows. And now she's going to start with the forest. So I guess she's going to walk around the forest. She finds some yummy fruit that she recognizes as fruit that grew on Wildling Isle when she was a kid, so she just starts eating it. And I guess because this is her island that her dad made for her, it would make sense. She decides that now what she's going to do, this girl's brain is so scattered. Now what she's going to do, she's found some fruit. She's going to portal back and forth with baskets of fruit. She's just weaving baskets out of vines really fast. And she's just portaling back and forth to Nightshade, leaving baskets of fruit on random doorsteps. This is what she's doing with her time. She found this top secret island of her dad's, and she found some fruit, and she's like, this is what I should do. This girl will not stick to a single mission for 10 seconds. She really is like somebody just playing a video game and just faffing around and doing whatever they want. After she does that, she goes back to eating her way through the woods. So she just tries everything she comes to, and apparently nothing is poisonous. She gets to the middle of the island where there is a freshwater pool, and there she just randomly decides that this is where she's going to let all of her powers out and really, like, be free. Even though, again, why isn't she terrified that she's just going to destroy this island? Because before, like I said, she was convinced that the moment she had her powers back, she was going to massacre people. Yeah, it just says, as her power unleashed across the island, the monster within felt relief. But did she kill? Did she kill all the trees? Like, that was something that she was afraid of, is that she would just, like, release death and kill all of the animals and plants everywhere. But no, I guess not. This time, she's fine. Does she wonder why? Probably not. And then she fell asleep, apparently, because we smash cut to her waking up in the middle of the night, and there's a serpent curled around her foot. Oh, she went back to bed. So she used her powers in the middle of the island. Nothing bad happened. She harvested a whole bunch of fruit for people, and then she went to bed. But anyway, there's a little snake curled up around her leg. But I guess we've skipped quests again to the follow the snake's quest, because the little snake, like, slithers away as soon as she reaches for it, and I think it wants her to follow it. So she follows the snake around a corner, and she comes to just a dead end that's just a mirror that I guess is here in the castle, and she never noticed before. And her reflection, when she looks at it, is her, like, snake lady reflection. She's just covered in snakes. So she starts to back away down the hall, horrified, and she backs into something hard. And we all know for a fact that it's not going to be a wall or a pillar or a door. It's always Grim. Grim has bad news, though. The Stormfinch is singing again. And she still has another ring. So she's like, cool, I have another chance to collect the storm. Why didn't you, when you lost the first one, why didn't you just real quick grab out the second one? You have to... This girl is so stupid.
Flames on the side of my face.
Also, you lost the previous ring off your finger. Don't put this one on your finger. Put it like on a chain or something around your neck or something to keep it on your body, since you apparently can't hold on to rings. But she puts this one on her finger as well. I guess we're not using the underground tunnels because Grim is now portaling people to the castle. But he had special underground tunnels made for shelter, so why is he portaling people to the... I don't understand this man. A whole bunch of tornadoes touch down while they're portaling villagers somewhere safe, and also the wind is full of those metal shards again. I don't know how anybody's houses survive at all. Like, yeah, they've gotten the people to safety, but how does anyone still have villages, quote-unquote, left? Multiple tornadoes are coming down, and pieces of metal are just ripping through the landscape. So she is like, I should use the ring, since we're out here in the storm, but Grim's like, nope, it's too dangerous, and just holds her down, and she agrees with him, even though, like, finding this portal and stopping these storms is super, super crucial, but I guess she can't, and we lose it again. We lose our opportunity again. And then it just says, for a week there was a new storm every day. Each time Isla attempted to capture part of it, but she never got close to a tornado again. Very convenient. And of course, Wraith is still injured, so she can't fly up, like, above the storm, except for she can fly! Now, I know these storms conveniently are full of this magic metal that stalls her powers, but I bet if she got, like, high enough, she could figure this out. So she decides, after watching all of these storms and the destruction that they cause, that she's going to follow a different quest hook again. She's done with the snake quest hook. She's done with the storm quest hook for the moment. She's going to switch her quest again and go talk to Not Tom Riddle's journal again. And she says, teach me, to the magic pen. So that's what we're doing next. But I am going to take at least a little break, if not a full break, and go eat some lunch and stuff. I'll see you for the next chapter. Welcome back. It is the same day, but now it is nighttime. Well, late afternoon, really. Well, no, I guess it's evening now, technically. But we're back with more Skyshade. I am just trying to get through this thing, y'all. So, this next chapter is called Skyers. So, Skyers draw power from blood and can only be formed with shade-made metal. Well, good, because there was shit tons of that falling from the sky, so, like, go get some. Unless it... Does it vanish after the storm is over? Otherwise, you'd think you people would be swimming in this special metal. So, this is so confusing. So Isla is also, like, practicing the special symbol or whatever, the mark. And she's like, a replacement for the bracelets, a safeguard in case her visits to the island to unleash her power weren't enough. You could still be wearing the bracelets. You chose to take them off. If you're worried about it, go put them back on. It was unclear why you took them off, but now Isla's out here acting like it was beyond her control to take the bracelets off. Like something happened and the bracelets came off. But no, this was her doing. Why is she looking for a replacement when the bracelets are right there still?
Is it supposed to be stupid?
It's not stupid. It's advanced.
So she does an experiment with the special feather, the not Tom Riddle's diary feather, and she presses it against a ruby, and because the feather has the shade made material, it goes right through the ruby, which now begs all sorts of questions about like is this metal hail that keeps falling every storm not just going right through people's homes, skulls, like how the castle walls, how is it not destroying everything? So now the ruby becomes ink because the feather like absorbs it. The magic is so poorly defined. And Isla is going to give herself a rune tattoo. Again, I'm pretty sure because the author thought it would look cool.
This one is commonly on the Lightwood's neck. That's blocking. That's a cool one. This one's soundless.
Apparently, marking herself with this special feather is the most painful thing that she's ever experienced. That's what it says right on the page. She, at one point during the previous centennial, like let her arm be in fire until it like blistered and like the skin was crackling. But this hurts more. She has been shot in the heart twice, and this tattooing hurts more. And she has to get the symbol just right or it will curse her. So she's here experiencing the worst pain of her life from somebody who has experienced a lot of painful things, but she's still able to do it. The author has to straight up tell us what this Skyer mark that she's just put on herself is supposed to do, because like it is so confusing what's even happening here. But this Skyer marking is supposed to help her channel her powers, which I guess was not something that she could do before. She's pretty sure that it has worked. Her powers feel suddenly so precise. This, again, would be another great thing to explore. If we were interested in exploring things about this character, Isla, this feels like a shortcut. Is Isla the sort of person to take shortcuts? Rather than learn to control her abilities, is she looking for an easy way out? Is she looking for a shortcut? And what is that going to cost her? That's not what this book is doing, but that could be a cool angle that a more experienced author could take this. This could be an arc for Isla if she was somebody who was like very impatient and very like so afraid of her own powers that she doesn't want to take the time, which she did. She took the time with Oro to like learn her powers in the previous book. So like if we had set that up that she like was just not into that and hated it and was always looking for a way around it to just control her powers in an instant, and then in this book she finds this way with these magical tattoos and she thinks this is going to solve all of her problems, but of course it won't because it's a shortcut. You see where I'm going with this. Now of course she's like, Aurora, or Ghost Aurora, or Aurora inside of a pen, helped me, even though she's my enemy, and that must mean that she's good now. It couldn't be that she's manipulating me. Absolutely, that would never happen. So she's like, I need to find out more markings. Smash cut to Grimm in the greenhouse in his black outfit. What is his black outfit? We already know the man wears black. What is the outfit? Is it overalls? Is he wearing black overalls? I am picturing him in black overalls and a big black farmer hat. Apparently, in the middle of this garden that he built for her, there's a statue of her in the fountain holding the baby dragon. We have the I never loved anyone before you trope. Because even if these guys are like super experienced and have had lots of partners, they've never ever once experienced romantic love until like the right person came along. I hate that notion. It's so toxic that like you can never experience romantic love unless it's like the one. That notion can lead to all sorts of problems in your relationships, in your life. So don't fall for it. Basically, she just came and found Grimm so he could have another gush session over how much he loves Isla so much. Every third or so chapter, we have to just be reminded of how amazing Isla is and how much Grimm just adores her. Ooh, Grimm shrugged a single shoulder. Oh, I almost put that on the bingo card and then I didn't because we had so many other things on there, but we finally have it. I didn't know if it was going to happen, but here we are. Grimm, he only shrugs one shoulder at a time. Also, we have even more tragic backstory. If we hadn't crossed it off with Saoirse, we would cross it off now because Grimm is sharing about being such a unloved little child. And like he had a nanny who he loved, but then she was executed. Oh, executed in front of him because of course. Now, of course, Grimm, who's too manly and masculine to ever have emotions besides anger, will not cry as he recalls his beloved nanny being killed in front of him. Isla will cry on his behalf, as the woman that is her job. We men are out here outsourcing crying to women, even though it would make perfect sense for Grimm to shed a couple of manly tears over the woman who raised him as a little boy and whom he loved. But no. That would make him so unmasculine we could never like him ever again. Good to see the toxic masculinity alive and thriving. Now we're finding out that one of the founders of Lightlark, the Slytherin founder of Lightlark, if you will, Cronin, had a shit ton of children and then just buried them all. Unclear if he buried them alive, but he buried his children and the land fed off the power of the children. Apparently, Grimm's father had taken to doing the same thing. He liked to pit his children against each other when they reached a certain age, but Grimm didn't have to because Grimm had a flare that his father was really excited about, and so he just killed the father just killed all the other children and just kept Grimm.
So, skipping over the fact that basically Grimm's father was, like, breeding until he got the kind of child he wanted, which is eugenics coded, but also in the lore of this world, supposedly if you have children you start to age, and Grimm's father was having tons of children, and I don't know if it's cumulative, like just having one child, is that the same as having 5, or do you, every time you have a child you start to age faster? It's really unclear, but I also find it really hard to believe that Grimm's evil father would want to have children at all, because that would mean that his children would like make him age and eventually like take over for him, and that doesn't sound like the sort of thing that an evil dictator wants, but I guess he was just really into murdering kids, so much so that he didn't care about the aging thing. Although I really do think that Alex Astor has forgotten about the aging thing, and has just kind of dismissed it at this point, because Grimm was also like, hey, let's have a baby, and neither of them were like, yeah, except for that means we will start to age, especially Isla, who's super young, and would be like, hey, I want to live for like 500 years like you before I start thinking about popping out kids and aging.
Just more mushy-gushy Isla Grimm stuff, and then she's like weeping openly now, and he's upset because she's crying, because men only know how to be angry. It's like, what's wrong? And she's upset about all the people who betrayed her. So she gets to be held as she cried, while he just has to live with and process the fact that his beloved nanny and all of his siblings, apparently, were all killed because of him. But he's a man, so he just processes that just fine. So Isla's like, we need a little vacay, just the two of us, let's get out of here where we can just be alone. And he's like, cool, I have another palace somewhere that I think you'll like, presumably not destroyed by all these fucking storms that keep happening. Apparently this was all part of Isla's cunning plan though, because she wants to go to the place, to that private place with Grimm, for reasons to do with her new tattoo. We are trying really hard and utterly failing to have a villain arc with Isla, because this author doesn't even know how to do a hero arc, so a villain one is well beyond her skill level. She was done pretending she didn't love him. She was done burying her feelings down, hoping they would die. It might have made her a villain. It might have been wrong, but she wanted him. Isla, you are in no way a villain. You're a little weird and random, and your actions don't make sense a lot of the time, but, like, at best, you're like a one-off Batman villain. She decides that for this outing, she's going to wear her OG wedding dress, so the one she wore to her first wedding. Why waste a sexy dress? The buttons down the back were difficult to hook herself, but she bent her arms. Oh, thank goodness. I was wondering how you do buttons behind you. It turns out you bend your arms. And of course, we get a lengthy description of the dress, because that's the only thing this author is ever interested in describing. Grimm keeps giving her earnest looks, and like the first time, sure, but like he's just always giving her earnest looks, and it's starting to not mean anything, because he's never looked at her deceptively in this entire book. Oh, now he gets to cry. The thing that men are allowed to cry about is how beautiful their wives are. So he like falls to his knees before her because he's like so in love with her and she's so beautiful, and he like cries at her beauty. Isla has already prepared their bedroom she's had Lynx go down to the stables. She bribed him to go away because she and Grimm are going to have sexy times. So are we going to fade to black? What do we think? I think usually this author does fade to black. She'll get kind of far into a sex scene, and then she doesn't really fade to black so much as just stop, because she doesn't ever know how to end scenes. So he immediately takes the dress off again. We just put the dress on, but they're gonna have sexy time. So he removes it immediately, and she's wearing lacy lingerie underneath. She does burn his shirt off though, and that's a little bit of a power move. She's just like, no more shirt for you. She said his pants were next. Now they were on equal footing, which I take to mean that he's also wearing lacy lingerie. All this, happy naked times, but I just cannot shake the feeling of how cold this must be. Because, Grimm is cold to the touch, just naturally as a person. And I just don't imagine his castle being very warm. I imagine old, drafty castle, and it's the middle of winter. I'm having a hard time getting into the sex scene. I mean, I never really get into the sex scene. I'm having an even harder time because I'm just like, they must be so cold, or at least she must be. I'm starting to wonder if this author has had sex. Again, I don't want to make any assumptions, but what's being described here, it feels like an alien who has read some horny books trying to describe sex. It's just like a little bit off. It's like Uncanny Valley. And I'm like, is she a virgin? I don't want to make assumptions. Again, I'm just going to say it again. As the sex scene goes on, it feels like it's written by someone who only knows about sex through reading horny romance books. The way it's written and what she's describing, it all feels just so slightly off, I don't want to actually read it to you, because I do have kind of a thing on my channel about not reading smut aloud to my viewers. But if you want to go read it yourself and see if you concur, because it's just odd. Although I will read this. Grimm grabbed her by the side of her face and kissed her deeply. He grabbed her by the side of her face? That doesn't sound fun. So they do get around to the P&V, and that goes on for a really long time. Impressive stamina on this man. They go through several different positions without ever pulling out. They remain connected through several positions that I don't think are possible. So, she comes again, and she's thrilled, and she's like, do it again, and that's the end of that chapter. So just randomly, I guess the author decided that we should have come to the point in the relationship where they have sex now, and they did. So, good. Great. The next chapter is pretty short, so I might just read it this evening. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get to it later. I have clients to read for tomorrow, so I probably won't read tomorrow, but I'll see ya for the next chapter when I see y'all. Bye. Hello, welcome back. If I sound congested and my nose is all red, that's because I have a cold. It is not COVID, just a cold, so you didn't get me this time, Alex Astor. Last time you got me, this time I am free. There's something sticky on the back of my book.
Joke's on me because I got COVID while I was editing the videos instead. She still got me. Damn you, Alex Astor, and your stupid cursed books.
I hope none of you mind me sounding like this, because this might be the next few chapters at least of me sounding like this. We'll see. Also looking like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Anyway, on to chapter 22, winter. It is actually winter right now here in Wisconsin. It is actively snowing outside. It's actually kind of pretty, especially since I don't have to go out in it right now. They're going to the Winter Palace. Okay, it's been a little while since I was reading, and I guess this is Grimm's, getaway palace that he totally has that hasn't been destroyed by any storms.
Just more rich person logic, because we've already seen that their solution to morale being low is to throw a big rich person party and let the poors come and watch them get married, and now they're like, we're stressed. Let's retire to our other palace. Rich person logic.
Okay, on the one hand, I want to say, good, she's making an attempt to describe something, which happens so seldom in this book, but at the same time, she's also quite bad at it, so she needs more practice.
A thin layer of snow clung against the stone and glass exterior as if wearing a sheer blanket. Okay, not that bad. The windows were as dark as lifeless eyes, like the entire castle was sleeping. That doesn't actually make any sense. The windows are as dark as lifeless eyes, as if the castle were sleeping. No, if you want to continue this metaphor, it would be as if the castle were dead. Lifeless and asleep are two different things. And here's another example of my pet peeve about the word forward. You guys know, it's coming again, that rant about forward. Grimm didn't seem to mind as he took a few steps forward. We don't know where he is standing. Like, presumably somewhere in the vicinity of this winter palace, but forward tells us nothing except for that he's not walking backwards or sideways. That's why I hate forward and I find it such a useless word when it comes to people are always saying he walked forward. It's like, no, give us a direction. He walked towards the door. He walked down the passage. He walked into the hallway. He walked towards Isla. Forward means nothing, especially if you have not placed the characters in space, which we have not. That's not true. That's not true. So Grimm is like, I remember when the Winter Palace used to be full, and she's like, what happened to everybody? And he says, they are all dead. Everyone Grimm had ever truly known was gone, everyone except for her. That is not true. She has her cousin who has been around for most of Grimm's life that we can, as far as we know, as far as we understand. There are people who Grimm has no, like, it's a little bit his fault if these people aren't his friends. But you can't sit here and be like, everyone that Grimm knew is dead, because that's not true. Here's an example of something that I see happen, especially with like newer writers. And I don't know what to call it except for why don't you just let the character speak? Summarizing what a character is saying can work if you're giving an overview of like something that happened. But we are in the scene with them. So the castle lights up all sparkly and it says, it reminded her of Starling. She told Grimm and he nodded. The realms aren't as different as we make them out to be. Instead of saying, it reminded her of Starling, she told Grimm. Just have her say, this reminds me of Starling. This reminds me of Star Isle. This reminds me of Starling Magic. Why are we summarizing her line if we're then going to let him answer her summary? If this was just a recap of like what they did as they came into the castle, sure, but it's not because he's getting actual lines with actual quotations. So don't summarize in this situation. Don't worry, even though this castle is very cold, Grimm has brought her some sweaters. Sweaters and pants. I'm going to assume they're sweatpants. They're just fluffy sweatpants because, like, once again, we are fully just doing modern clothing. The only time that we're not doing modern clothing is if she's going to be wearing, like, fancy dress. And even then, it's usually pretty much like a prom dress. I'm not one of those people who's like, you have to be historically accurate with your fantasy book because it's a fantasy book. But I am one of those people that's like, I want to see some fantasy clothing. I am here to see these people dress in ways that suit their world. So I guess maybe Isla just wearing sweaters suits this world because the world building is so lazy. Grimm just straight up says what his character is in this book. He says, all I ever think of is you. Yeah, we know, honey. We do get to hear about him being a good ruler, like off page, but when he is on page, it is the all Isla show all the time. We need to make a version of the Bechdel test for these boys in these books who are obsessed with the main girly and see if they can pass it, where basically our test is, do they have a conversation with another named character that has nothing to do with the main girly? So far, Grimm has not passed. Oh, they have the nose flicking thing? Or no, that was Powerless. She flicked him on the nose, and that was a thing that the characters did in Powerless. Am I just so out of touch? Is that what young people are doing now? When they like each other? Flicking each other on the nose? Please, if you are like Gen Z, younger Gen Z, or younger, please tell me, is nose flicking like a romantic thing that I just don't know about? I'm very weirded out by that. Don't flick me on the nose. That I will not take that as a gesture of you liking me. He was wearing 3 different types of swords. Okay, I would love to know what types of swords he's wearing. like a claymore, a rapier, and a broadsword? Like, help me out here. Why tell us he's wearing 3 different types of swords if you're not even going to give us any hint what those swords look like? Does it matter then? Everybody here wears capes, not cloaks. Cloaks would be more useful. Cloaks are warmer, they often have hoods, sometimes they have pockets, but all they wear here are capes. So she goes to his wardrobe and it's just all capes. But she's like, you have only capes. We are going shopping. Tee. Luckily, there's a quaint little winter village, like a little Christmas village right below the mountain. It's all beautiful and tranquil, and we're just like, whenever we need her to go to like a village, there's never any damage from the storms that are supposedly happening and ravaging the land and killing all of the peasantry. It's almost like there are 2 realities happening simultaneously in this book. Yeah, children are just out playing in the snow. It's just like this picturesque little Christmas village.
Christmastown premieres Sunday night, December 1st at 8.
Apparently Grimm's favorite candy is licorice. I'm sorry if you're a licorice lover, but I do not like licorice. Although that does kind of track for Grimm. He would like gross candy. And of course there's a licorice shop in this little Christmas village, so she goes to the licorice shop and gets Grimm all of the licorice she wants, just like that time when they met in the first book where he gave her all of the chocolate that she wanted. Also, this cutesy Christmas village exists on the same island as everybody like dressed in leather and going to drug-fueled raves and just like having free sex out in the open. I guess the nightshades contain multitudes. But she wants to get him some cute, like, regular person clothes, which obviously they will have. And basically now I'm just picturing him in the most boring, just sweater and pants. Yeah, and she immediately puts on one of his new sweaters because, you know, girlies be wearing their boys' sweaters. This has just fully transformed into a Hallmark movie.
Pack your bags, we're off to Christmastown.
To be clear, if your book supports this kind of scene, fine, but this book is the tonal whiplash of going from, oh my god, storms are ravaging the land and killing so many people, there's no way to control them, I'm going to die at the end of winter, all of these magical plot threads are happening, let's go on a nice cute shopping date with my boyfriend and get some licorice and go to this adorable little snowy village and buy us both sweaters. Excuse me? I understand that downtime is important. Even if your book is very hectic and there's a lot going on, downtime is important. But the tone of the downtime needs to match the tone of the rest of the book. And now they're snuggled in front of a fireplace. They're probably going to drink hot chocolate. They're both wearing their cozy Christmas sweaters. I mean, at least I am personally, when I'm reading this, it is the week before Christmas. So this is the right time for me to be reading a cozy Christmas village scene, I guess. Uncanny timing there. Yeah, see, here she even brings up Asteria, whatever her cousin's name is, Astria. I can't with her name. I don't know why. But she's like, yeah, I talked to Astria, and she told me she strongly advised you to stick my head on a pike. So this woman had Grimm's ear at least well enough to give him her opinion, unfiltered, about his new wife. But no, everyone that Grimm knew is dead. She thought it was the perfect time to tell him what Astria had told her about the romance books in the library, the ones about him. So they were just having a conversation. Why not let us see her, how she chooses, the words that she chooses to tell him that there is real person fanfic of him in his own library. But no, it just summarizes it again. I don't understand why, except for laziness on the author's part. She doesn't care, she's in a rush. Isla also says that she read one, but we were not given any hint of that. That would have been fun to experience with her. Obviously, we don't need the whole book, but like if she goes and reads one, could we find out what that was like? This author could have a lot of fun, sort of poking fun at fan fiction if she wanted to, hopefully in a playful and like good-natured way. But we skip that entirely, and we find out only here that Isla apparently read one of Grimm's like real person fanfics. Also, I'm kind of getting sick of all of these girlies in books like this being romance readers as well. Like, I get that you want to appeal, like you're writing a romance, you want to appeal to your readers who like reading romance. But there's no rule that says that your main characters
have to read the same genre as the book that they're in. In fact, I would love it if they didn't. It would give us a little bit of variety. Not all of these girlies have to be obsessed with romance. Isla's like, okay, does this castle have a library? He's like, yes, but there's no romance in it. And she's like, good, because she wants to research something. Who knows? One of her many quest hooks. And that is the end of the chapter. So that was just a date to a little Christmas village. Yeah, that could be cut, I feel like, entirely. And we would have missed nothing except for knowing that now Grimm has some sweaters. Great. I'll see you for the next chapter. Alright, onward to the next chapter. It is called Maze. We will see if we're going to do anything pertaining to the plot. It's interesting that Isla is mostly doing her questing alone and then goes back to Grimm to, like, have date nights. Unlike in the previous book where she did a lot of questing with Grimm, I wonder why. Like, why the change? Why not involve him in the questing? She's drinking hot chocolate, everyone. I should have put chocolate on the bingo card, but honestly, that one's kind of also a given. There's a hedge maze. Where are they staying? The Outlook Hotel? But she looks out the window and she's like, there's a hedge maze. This place is always winter. He says it is always winter here, like up in the mountains. But they have the ability to grow a hedge maze. My understanding with a hedge maze is that there has to be summer sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong. Are there just winter-only hedge mazes? Apparently the hedge maze is older than the castle. So it says Isla puts on a lot of layers to go outside, and now I'm just picturing her like baby Maggie Simpson. So she walks up to the hedge maze, and there's like power pulsing from it. Grimm, of course, has wall-to-wall tragic backstory, never a happy moment to look back on, but apparently he used to hide out in this hedge maze. By the way, we are getting drip-fed. Every time she interacts with Grimm, we're getting drip-fed more sob stories about his past. I just haven't been sharing all of them. Just assume that he has, like, the most tragic backstory TM that anyone has ever had. Oh, convenient. One of the features of this hedge maze is that they can't use their powers inside it. Because once again, this author is always like looking for ways to make her powerful characters not be able to use their powers. So she's like, so people could die in here because like they can't use their powers to get out. And Grimm's like, oh yeah, lots of people have died in here. And Isla's like, oh cool. And she just keeps walking in it. Supposedly Grimm knows the way because he used to come in here all the time as a kid to memorize the way, but like it's a magical hedge maze, so maybe it has changed over time. Also, I love how Isla did not ask questions about this magical hedge maze until she was well inside of it. So if Grimm hadn't memorized the paths through the maze, she would just probably die in here. But they reach the center of the maze very quickly, and there is a coffin in the middle. I don't know if coffin is the right word. Mausoleum? No, that's the building. But like, what do you call it when it's like not the actual coffin? Like coffin is the thing that you bury, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe they're just called a coffin when they're just like sitting there above ground. But anyway, it is Cronin, his ancestor. Her ancestor, somebody's ancestor. The coffin is made out of the shade-made material, the same stuff that falls from the sky, the same stuff that the blacksmith's using. Like, this metal is every frickin' where for having never been mentioned previous to now. So they follow their own footprints back out of the maze, but the way that this author says it is so awkward. They see their footprints and it says, it became a trail out of the labyrinth, leading their way out. In the previous chapter, she was excited to go to the library. Then this chapter opens with her instead going to a random hedge maze and finding the coffin of a guy. And then Grimm is like, okay, now you're cold. Let's go to the fireplace, specifically in the library. Why end the previous chapter with her being excited to go to the library and then begin the next chapter with them going to a hedge maze instead and then Grimm randomly saying, let's go to the library? But when they get inside and are taking off, like stripping off their winter layers, they suddenly get deeply turned on by each other and start making out. These two are so easily distracted. And the reason for this is because this author wanted to do a sweeping everything off of a desk to have sex on it scene.
Good. So they went to the library. They're taking off winter layers, suddenly hot and heavy for each other, so Grimm can be like swoosh, and all the papers can go flying, because everything is a trope. Nothing is original. This book is made entirely out of post-consumer product. That didn't last long, though, because now they're doing it up against the wall. Sorry, a bookshelf. She thinks it's a wall, then she discovers it's a bookshelf. So yeah, they do it up against a bookshelf. This is very quick and fade to black. It's just like a few paragraphs of them very quickly moving through like positions in the library. All I can think as they have sex in this library and make a huge mess is not in front of the literature. Grimm, however, is still naked as a jaybird. He is just like lounging on the blankets by the fireplace as Isla gets fresh clothes on and goes about like stacking some books. He's just laying there in the nude. But he's too distracting in all of his nakedness over there, so he teleports away. Rather than getting clothes on and helping her, he's just like, I'm too distracting. Bye. The reason for this, though, is because the author needs him to leave so that Isla can pull out her magic pen that she had in her dress pocket. So she took this pen on a walk with her to the maze. So she pulls it out and she has to, like, do, once again, a not Tom Riddle's diary for vague answers from this totally legit and definitely not evil pen. So the pen tells Isla that she needs to find a book that is cursed so it will not open. She said that most of the books don't have titles or covers, they are simply leather bound. Isn't leather bound, doesn't that mean that there's a leather cover? Like it's not just loose pages, just like bound with just cord or something. Leather bound to me implies that they have a cover, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misunderstanding what leather bound means. This would not be a Lightlark book, though, if there was not searching in a library, because one thing this author loves is a searching in a library moment. She, after looking at a whole bunch of books, she looks back at the shelf where she and Grimm had had sex, and she realizes that they knocked off all the other books except for there's one book just standing there by itself. I don't know how you would miss that until now. I guess she just didn't want to look at their sex shelf. It looked just like the others, thick black leather cover creased by time. You said that the books didn't have covers, or most of them didn't. If it looks just like the others, and it has a cover, then you were lying before or you're lying now. Probably what she meant is there was no art on any of the covers. She thinks that the book is going to be hard to remove from the shelf because it's the only one still there, but when she grabs it, it just comes right off the shelf.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
The book opens right up for her, even though she was like, didn't the pen tell me that it was cursed to remain closed? But I guess Isla is just the special. She thinks that there was a curse on it, but her flare, or one of her flares, to protect her from curses, I thought it was just to detect curses, but no, I guess it does just like make her immune to curses. She just broke the curse on this book by existing. So it says earlier that the book fell open and she saw, let me see if I can find the exact wording, only parchment and faded ink. So faded ink. There's writing on the pages. And then a few paragraphs later, it says every page was blank. So did the faded ink that she saw before disappear? Or is this author just not doing continuity at all? All of a sudden she's feeling like everything's really urgent again, like I need to solve this, I need to figure out the storms and stop my own death. Where was this urgency when you were tra-la-lying around a Christmas village buying candy and sweaters? So for whatever reason, I guess because the author didn't know how to solve this conundrum that she put her character in, Isla got to the end of the book and then went back to the beginning, and now all of a sudden there are words. There are just a few sentences on every page this time, so to me that says, okay, you're supposed to go to the end of the book and come back and maybe there will be more. But no, on the last page there was a skyer. It's in the shape of a rose encased in an orb. Do you think that Alex Astor wants people to get a tattoo of this symbol? I feel like she does. I feel like in this book, she's like, let me make some tattoos so people will want to go get like stuff from my book tattooed on them. The Dragon book did such a good job of like marketing tattoo ideas. So she does go to the last page of the book and then start again, but we don't know if that works. We smash cut to Grimm taking her out to the little Christmas village for a romantic dinner instead. I don't know why. I'm curious what this village eats. They have a restaurant, apparently, and it's very busy and well-liked. But they live in a place where it's always winter. Grimm said it's always winter here. So where are they importing their food from? I mean, they must just bring it in from the fields that we found out that are on Nightshade, which seems like a hassle, but I guess. Everybody at this village is just sort of exaggeratedly happy and warm and just lovely because this is the Hallmark movie portion. They do the cute thing where they order, but then she likes what he's got better, so he gives her his plate. In the previous bit of this chapter, she was reading from a cursed book. And we're back in a Hallmark movie. Like, the tone. This author has struggled with tone, as we've established before. Because in her previous book, the tone was very sort of goofy and whimsical, and then all of a sudden she's got gloves made out of human skin. Like, she's really bad at maintaining a consistent tone. After they have a cutesy dinner, they go into an alley, because I guess this Christmas village has alleys, and they start making out. There's a chocolate shop here. We talked in book 1 about where are these people getting chocolate, but where are these people getting chocolate? She's like, I love chocolate, but I actually like sex more. So they portal back and I guess have sex again. We don't get to see it. But they are humping like a couple of rabbits, these two. Fortunately, we're not being subjected to all of the sex scenes, so at least there's that. But that is the end of that chapter. Thank God that all of that happened. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter. Hello, welcome back. It is nighttime. 'Tis the same day. Somehow my nose is even more red. This next chapter is called Unleashed. Immediately struck with just like, the Winter Palace seemed oddly removed from the rest of the world. Yeah, you specifically asked him to bring you to some place that is super, super removed. So yeah, it would feel removed. I can't with this woman. She does wonder how this palace survives all of the storms. I don't know if it's going to go past, just idly wondering. And also, how does the tiny, quaint Christmas village survive all the storms? I love how this author just dresses her characters in like modern clothes, except for she won't just call a bra. At this point, just say that Isla's wearing a bra instead of like a chest band or something. Once again, Isla is not in a hurry to do anything when she's hanging out with Grimm because she and Grimm go for a little romantic walk and talk about their pets. Okay, clearly this is just an answer to everybody, myself included, who thought the name Lynx was stupid when your cat is a leopard. You know, like what do you name like one cat after another cat? So Grimm calls it out. He's like, "Why is your leopard named Lynx? He's not a lynx." And she's like, "He likes it." And Grimm's like, "Okay." And I'm like, that's not an explanation. And also just the author giving the middle finger to all the people who told her that that was a dumb name for the cat. A 10-year-old would think that's a great name for a leopard. We're gonna call it Lynx. Not every idea you have as a 10-year-old needs to make it into the book. Your 10-year-old self will still survive and thrive when you publish your book if you don't do every single detail that they thought of. Now they're having a snowball fight. Thank goodness. I mean, the world is being ravaged by deadly storms, but by all means, snowball fight. Now they're just going to have a duel of powers because, I don't know, the author couldn't think of anything. And Grimm's like, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no one for you to hurt. You can't hurt me. I'm stronger than you. Sure. So let's duel. But lest we forget, Isla got that weird tattoo that like makes her powers easier to channel because her doing it through her own efforts would be stupid. She makes a sword using starling powers. Lest we forget, starlings have the ability to make matter out of nothing. So again, I'm not sure why we're not more concerned about them, honestly. They start portaling around while they're sword fighting, and I'm sure this looked very cool in the author's head. Like, I bet she thought this was going to be like an amazing movie sequence. They're also flirt fighting, in case you're wondering. I'm sure you could have guessed that, but I don't think this author knows how mountains work. So they flirt fight for a while, and she manages to yeet Grimm off the mountain, and it says, he was waiting for her at the bottom of the mountain, leaning against it. He was leaning against the bottom of the mountain? The mountains aren't like in cartoons where they just kind of, they just go up. They're not like a cone. There were rocks at the bottom of the mountain that he could be leaning against, probably. But no, he's leaning against the mountain itself. Now she feels like all good about herself because she used her powers and won the flirt fight. So good. Glad that she has gotten over her absolute fear of her own powers. And that's the end of that scene. We'll just smash cut to the next day. I don't know why, but she's decided that Grimm cannot find out that she's researching the Skyers. So she's glad that he wants to go for a little dragon flight this morning so she can keep researching. She sees a random passage in the magic book that says, bones hold more power than blood. The most powerful Skyers must be formed with them. So this entire book, we've been like, blood, 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 blood. Blood holds the power. Blood is the powerful thing. And now we're just finding out, I guess bones are even better. She's like, cool, this means I need to find some powerful bones. Luckily, it tells us that she knew where to get them, so thank God. But she's like, I know where to find the powerful bones. I'm going to go steal Grimm's ancestor's corpse. Okay, I guess. Also, just in case you were wondering, the author does let us know that handily she just memorized the way into the middle of the maze. She memorized it. They went in here one time. She memorized it. Don't worry about it. Shut up. And then she just gets attacked by a creature, and it bites her. What does it look like? Still unsure. Okay, it was a four-legged creature with a squished, angry face. Okay, so far I'm thinking giant pug. And tusks coming out of its front. Its front. Where are these tusks actually? Are they tusks that come out of the mouth, as we normally see tusks? Or are there tusks coming out of like its chest? What is its front? She's like, this is a storm creature. She can just recognize them. I didn't know giant pugs were falling from the sky, but... Oh, I guess it's a giant pug without eyeballs, though, because it's like sniffing for her. Doesn't she have healing abilities? Because she's got her powers now. Like, it bit her, and she got away, but like, it could track her with her scent or whatever, because she's still bleeding. But Oro has healing powers, I'm pretty sure. So couldn't she use his healing powers? She soaks her cloak in her own blood. Like, how bad is her ankle bleeding? Has she hit an artery? Because she soaks the cloak, and then she yeets it over a hedge wall so that the creatures, there's more than one now, apparently, I didn't know that, will go after it instead of her. But, oh darn it, now she's lost. How did she not notice this giant animal until it was biting her ankle? That's what I want to know. Did it teleport in? How little attention do you have to be paying for a giant pug with tusks to get so close that it's chewing on you before you realize it's there? She has nature powers. I guess now her powers aren't working. That's right. Duh, Julian. Her powers don't work in the hedge maze. Jeez, I'm complaining about this and then the hedge maze. No powers. She's like, I need to get on top of the hedges. And I'm like, the top of hedges aren't like walls. It's hedge. It's the plant. And you don't have your plant powers right now, unless maybe you do and you're on top. You're gonna just sink in. I don't know if she understands that. She uses her daggers to climb the hedge, again, as though it is a wall and not leafy plants. Fortunately, we don't have to find out if this author thinks that you can just walk on top of hedges, because Isla gets snagged and dragged back down. All she could do was watch as 4 sets of teeth hovered, snarling, ready to pounce. The teeth are ready to pounce. Isla did, however, bring the magic book in here with her for some reason. But she's like, that's right, the book is cursed. I guess Isla didn't make the curse go away, she just made it not work on her. So she thinks that she can just open the book at them, which is an interesting logical leap to make, but it probably will work. She summoned a demon. She opened the book and summoned a whole demon, and it crawls out of the book. This is what would have happened, I guess. I mean, wouldn't these creatures have to open the book? That's my question. Because if she opens it, even if she's aiming it at the creatures, doesn't that mean that her power negates the curse? See what I mean about a lot of rules and like no rules at the same time? But yes, she summons a whole demon and it mauls the pugs from the storm. But now she's got a demon problem. She no longer has a monster problem. Now she has a demon problem. And she's like, once again, the solution is to climb the maze. Even though I'm pretty sure this demon had wings. Yes, it had wings. So I'm not sure why she thinks climbing is going to solve her problem now. Yeah, now we're calling it a wall instead of a hedge. Because the author does not realize that you can't just stand on top of a hedge. Oh, she's like hand-waving it away by being like, the hedges were really icy, and that made it so that she could just stand on top of it. No, that's not how this works. I'm sorry, that is wrong. But whatever, it's your book. If she can not only walk, she can run on top of this hedge maze. Why is it a hedge maze then? Why not just make it a maze made out of brick walls or something? Why is it a hedge in a place where it is always winter? And why can you walk on top of it? She's like, I could go home now that I can see the way out, or I could go get the bones that I came here for. Is the demon not chasing her? Maybe the demon just doesn't care and just like left. But she's like, I need to go get the bones, actually. Why were there storm monsters in this maze? She's not going to ask that question. She's not going to wonder about that. She's like, I need to go get the bones. Thank goodness I summoned a demon out of this book. What if the curse of the book had been like not a demon? What if the curse had been, if you open this book, you suddenly lose your ability to read forever? What if it had been something like that? Don't worry though, she can jump from portion of the maze to portion of the maze because she spent so many nights vigilanteing and jumping from rooftop to rooftop. So she gets to the coffin, she tries to open it, it doesn't want to open. She thinks that it's enchanted or cursed, and I'm like, well, if it's cursed, then that shouldn't be a problem, because as we just established, curses don't work on you. She decides that what she needs is blood, because blood is power. That's what the blacksmith said. So she gets some of her ankle blood and smears it on there. Again, I don't know why though, because she could open the cursed book without any side effects, but she can't open the cursed casket?
What are the rules?
But yeah, her blood works, and then she just pushes it open. But oh no, the coffin is empty! Oh no, who could have foreseen such a thing? So she's like, crap. She is still slightly concerned about the demon, I guess. So she's like, well, I need to leave or the demon's gonna get me. Is this the demon just loose in the world now? Is it gonna go terrorize the Christmas town? Like, or does it fade away eventually? I don't know. But she's like, it's gonna get me, so I can't like linger around here. And so she climbs back up the hedge maze and follows her own blood trail. She has not attempted to bandage her ankle, by the way, so she's like getting woozy because she's bleeding out. She's wearing a lot of clothes. We keep hearing about all the layers she's wearing. She definitely has some fabric she could, bind up that ankle real quick.
Or, you know what's plentiful right now for Isla, and also pretty good for helping stop bleeding? Snow.
She could barely feel her hands and fingers. Right. Fingers are often considered to be part of hands, so you could say she couldn't feel her hands, and I think we would understand that her fingers were included. Okay, yeah, the demon got bored, and now it has climbed the hedges, even though it did have wings. I double-checked, it has wings, but it's climbing the hedges instead, and it sees her. Oh no, this is supposed to be a tense moment, because she's lost so much blood, and she's so cold, and she's running from a demon, and I just, don't care. And of course, just as she gives up and surrenders, she hears Grim. She doesn't even need her life alert necklace. He can just tell when she's in danger. Her hands are suddenly all cut up because apparently these hedges have thorns in them, which we never mentioned before. She's running on top of these hedges, but also they're full of thorns. And then she has lost too much blood and she passes out and she falls off the wall into Grim's manly arms. And that's the end of the scene. We're probably never going to find out what the fuck happened to that demon. So Isla's waking up and she's all bandaged by the fire, cute stuff, and Grim's right there, of course. And she's like, yeah, creatures attacked me, but something drove them off. And Grim's like, yeah, also I found your magic book. Oh, Grim just dealt with the demon. Don't worry about it. She summoned a whole demon and Grim just killed it, which is deeply disappointing to me because I want it to go on a rampage through the Christmas village. Apparently there was only one demon in the book because he has opened it and the pages are blank for him. So that means that this book was never opened by anybody before Isla got to it because there was just one demon in there. Alternately, maybe there were a bunch in there and she just happened to get the last demon. I don't know. I'm really curious about the logistics of this book. I feel like you could write a whole story around this book alone. So apparently Isla made a connection while fleeing in the maze that, again, feels like the world's biggest logical leap. But she says, the portal is the coffin. I mean, I guess that answers why there are storm monsters there. Do they come out of the coffin? No, obviously the portal's the coffin. I mean, think about it. It's completely logical and all the clues were right there. But she's like, I just learned that bones are more powerful than blood, and his gift was portaling, so his bones created a portal. Fucking sure. Why not? Anything can happen in this book. And next you'll be like, also his bones created a kitten sanctuary. So then she's like, the only reason we never figured it out is because he's in the middle of this weird ass hedge maze that blocks out powers. What? How is his portal corpse creating the storms if he's locked in a coffin made of the specific metal that blocks powers? Are his bones just more powerful than the metal and the maze combined? All of a sudden she's like, also Grimm can now see my tattoos. You guys have had sex multiple times and he never noticed your tattoos before? Yeah, he looks up and he sees her tattoos now. I guess she was maybe kind of using her powers to low-key conceal them, although you'd think the sex would make it too distracting to do that, but whatever. I guess Grimm's not that good. And he's like, what are those? What are those? And that's the end of the chapter. Wow. That was just the biggest collection of random things happening that I have read in quite a while. It's like a little kid telling his story. And then. But thank you for joining me for that absolute bullshit. And surely this book has even more for us in store later. Welcome back. It is the next morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is right now. The sun is still out for like 10 more minutes. So at least there's that. Also, I am at that stage of a cold where I'm basically physically recovered, but my voice sounds like I have just recently crawled out of a fresh grave. So don't be alarmed by my voice, because I want to read some more of this. And speaking of crawling out of a fresh grave, the next chapter is called Bones. I am just infuriated by that previous chapter. Like, what the fuck? Why did we waste so much time on that stupid ring that she was supposed to use to follow the storms to the portal? Why? When it turned out she didn't need it, she was just going to come to the conclusion, the obvious natural conclusion, that the coffin is the portal. She had to go get the ring from Azul. She had to like wear it in a storm. She had to lose it in the storm. The dragon almost died. For a nothing plot. By the way, if you hear the sound of shoveling outside, it is very snowy today, and there's shoveling happening outside. Anyway, chapter 25 is called Bones, and unfortunately I do not think they are referring to the Doctor from Star Trek.
I'm still Chief Medical Officer of the Enterprise. I'll tell you what you need and when you need it.
Much to my immense disappointment, Isla told Grimm everything about the Skyers. Oh, okay, good. Good. I'm glad she was keeping that such a secret. Now that he just, like, noticed her tattoo, she's gonna spill all the beans. She's not gonna try to make up a lie or anything, so she could have just told him this whole time. Grimm is like, okay, cool, but you should stop using those because those are dangerous. And she's like, no. She's like a petulant child. She's like, nope, I'm going to keep using them. She straight up just says, well, I'm going to keep using them because I'm afraid of my powers and I found this convenient shortcut. Grimm, because he's a perfect boyfriend, just like looks at her for a minute and is like, okay, fine, whatever you want to do, babe. I really wish that we could maybe have Grimm's point of view or something and explore on why he went from being the guy who would erase her memory and like give her a necklace that's her marriage necklace but not tell her what it is and be so manipulative, but then just flip a switch to this guy who's like, whatever you want to do, even if it's super dangerous, like you do it, you have the most free will ever. He did this whole thing where her soul is like linked to his because she almost died and he hid that from her. And she didn't even know until it was forced to come out. But now all of a sudden he's like, whatever you want to do, babe. Grimm, honey, this is not healthy. This is obsessive, and I really think you should see a therapist about this, because he says, I would choose you over the world every single time. Therapy, honey. Men go to therapy challenge level impossible. At least he admits that he's not happy about it. He's like, I really don't want to kill the world. I will for you, kill the entire world. But also I would I would miss the world a little bit. So at least he admits that he doesn't dislike living in the world that he would destroy for her. Oh, okay. I guess he's not done hiding things from her, because he's like, I thought maybe if we had a child. Excuse me? You gonna discuss this with your wife at any point, buddy? Or you're just gonna be like, yeah, let's just have unprotected sex and it'll be fine. Oh, good. Fortunately, she also wants a kid. So, thank goodness. They both agree that she can't have one right now because of the shortened lifespan issue that she's currently having. But they're both like, well, good, I want a kid. And I'm like, so we're not going to talk about the fact that he, like, unilaterally decided that he wanted a kid and didn't tell you. He didn't approach it like, hey, have you thought about having kids? Like, what are your thoughts on kids? He's like, I wanted a kid. Fortunately, she's like, I want a kid too, and not like, whoa there, buddy, we need to talk about this, like two adults who are married. Preferably you talk about wanting children before you are married, but I don't think these two did that somehow. I think they were too busy eating chocolate and having sex up against walls.
So I'm mentioning again here how in the lore, supposedly if you have children, you start to age. And Grimm is like 500 years old, so maybe he's like, yeah, I'm about ready to settle down and have kids. But there's no explanation of how Isla feels about it. She just immediately goes, yeah, I want kids too. Not, no, because my life is complicated enough as it is. No, because I wanted to explore the world. That was a dream I had, and having a child will tie me down and make me start aging, and I'm like 22. Like, she's super young, especially compared with how long her species, I guess you could call it, can live. So it is baffling to me that Isla will be like, yeah, I want kids too, with an understanding of how children affect them in this world. But I think that's just because we are just doing this whole marriage kids thing that people romanticize. You get married and you have a child. That's just the order things are supposed to go in, whether it makes sense in your story or not. And I hate it.
Also, we are not, I don't think, I could be wrong, it could just have gone by in like a single line and I missed it, but I don't remember fantasy birth control ever being mentioned in these books. Maybe I'm forgetting. By the way, I'm in favor of fantasy birth control. Like, I fully don't mind if your book is just like, yeah, she took the herbs that would prevent pregnancy. I'm like, on it. Completely down with whatever fantasy birth control you want to throw at me. It annoys some people, but I'm like, nah, this is a fantasy world. There are dragons. We can have easy, accessible birth control. LP says that they're infinite, which, was that stolen from Veronica Mars?
Spanning years and continents, lives ruined, bloodshed, epic.
She kissed him as snow began to fall outside the glass window. As opposed to the stone window? I don't think you need to tell us that the window is glass. And then after that cute snuggling moment, we smash cut to the augur. This time she just goes to visit him without being invited. She just marches right in because she's a badass, y'all. Where did this come from? Because before she was like, I'm going to bring this guy all the hearts that he wants. But now she's marching in here and she's like, I didn't bring you any hearts. If you want, I will carve your heart out of your chest and feed it to you. And of course, he's intrigued and charmed by it and not like, how dare you, and like stabs her immediately or something. These girlies are never punished for being like so uppity and obstinate in front of authority. Apparently she's got one of the prophet's bones. I don't remember when she found that, but I'm just going to believe her that she has it. And she's like, if I put a tracking skyer on one of his bones, will that help me find his blood? Because I need the pages of the book that are missing, and they were written in his blood. This is very complicated and convoluted way to do anything, but... Oh, he's got a bone. He's got a tooth. But he points out to Isla that her nose is bleeding, and she's like, what? And he's like, oh yeah, skyers are going to do that. They're already like ripping you up on the inside, so enjoy.
Yeah, this doesn't go anywhere. People keep telling Isla that the Skyers are going to like destroy her and there's like a huge price for using them, but that never actually comes to fruition. I don't know if the author is saving it for a future book, but I kind of doubt it. I kind of think that she just wanted to have Isla gain all of this power and then also pretend that there were consequences to the power, but not actually have Isla suffer the consequences. Like, I think one other time she like bleeds from her nose or something, but she doesn't actually suffer actual real consequences for using the Skyers. They're really painful to put on, but like after that, she's freaking fine.
Of course, he takes a moment after he's tasted her blood to like gas her up and be like, by the way, you're like super awesome and powerful and you just don't even realize it yet. But also he's like, yeah, your traitor is still on the move. And Isla's like, I think you mean traitors, traitors plural, because I figured out that my guardians are the traitor. And he's like, wow, you're dumb. And I agree with him because obviously it wasn't her guardians. He also drops that the traitor is a woman, which means it's probably her cousin, because she doesn't know any other women. The only other woman she knew stabbed herself and died because she was in a weird Isla cult. But that's all that we get. We cut away from that. Wraith, the dragon, is back in fighting fit. He's fine. And he is out flying with Grim, and he finds Isla. Apparently another graveyard has been ransacked. So I think someone else is kind of using the same idea as Isla of getting bones. I'm guessing that's what's going on. But she's like, take me there. And they go there and Astria's there. Interesting. And she's like, oh, the bones have been stolen. But she portals off to go visit her guardians because she's still like, for some reason, convinced it's them, I guess. Or maybe she's realizing that it's not and she wants their help or something. By the way, in this book, this Shade Maid metal is everywhere because also the prison that Tara and Poppy are being kept in is made of it. And I'm like, if this metal was so freaking plentiful on Grimm's Island, he should have brought it with him to the Centennial and used it as a secret weapon. You'd think Aura would have brought it up, like, oh, also Grimm has like this metal on his island that renders all of our powers useless, so that's concerning. So she uses Aura's powers to sense when people are lying, which might be the only reason that the author gave her powers back at this point. And her caretakers are not lying about not destroying the Nightbane, not desecrating graves, and they also did not kill her parents. So now she's having a whole new crisis because she doesn't trust her judgment, and I'm like, girl, now we're on the same level because I have not trusted your judgment basically since book 1. Your judgment is awful. You make snap decisions based on random evidence that the book just hands you, or even more frequently on evidence that doesn't exist. You've just decided, like, I don't like my caretakers, so they must have been the traitor. She wakes in the middle of the night to go back to her home island and maybe do some more skyres. So she starts to draw a skyer on a piece of bark, but because she's using her own blood, when she gets it wrong, she like has a seizure of some kind. She passes out from her random seizure and wakes up at noon the next day. So she gets back and there's a panic going on in the castle and Grim teleports to her immediately and she's like, what's going on? And also she tells him that she was practicing skyers, but it's like fine and he's fine with it. He just glosses right over it. And there's been some kind of attack and people are dead. It's one of their military bases. They've got military bases apparently too. There's so much stuff on this island. Immediately she thinks that Poppy and Tara are somehow to blame for this, and then she remembers that they actually hadn't done any of the things that she thought they did. So she's like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't just immediately blame them because I don't like them. That's an important lesson for you, Isla. Also, whatever happened to Cleo? Because Cleo and her fleet were sailing towards Grimm's Island, I thought, and they just never arrived. Conveniently, I guess, for the first time, we're learning that Nightshade is completely surrounded by reefs, so it makes it really hard to access it from the sea. Good to know. I don't see how that would stop Cleo, though, because she has control over water. But she doesn't think it's Cleo because Cleo couldn't dock here, but I bet she could. She could just raise the water levels so that her ships could reach the shore without running into the reefs. Also, are they back home? They must be. Yeah, they must have gone home. I don't remember them doing that, but they must have gone home. They finished their little vacation because otherwise there wouldn't be no soldiers and stuff to be running around all distressed. Grimm's like, I'm going to handle this, you stay here, and then he portals away, which makes Isla very suspicious. Grimm also has a legion. Somebody please teach Alex Astor other words for like groups of military personnel. So Isla creeps around the castle and gets to where Grimm is meeting with his legion. Indoors, again, I feel like a legion is a little bit big to be inside, but he's meeting with them in the main room. So the report from Asteria, whatever, is that people are saying that a powerful wildling attacked them. The wildling came up out of the ground and killed a whole bunch of people, pulling bodies straight into the dirt. And of course, everybody's saying that it was Isla who did it. And conveniently last night, she was away from Grimm for a while. So he has no proof. He can't be like, actually my wife was with me all night last night. Isla is, of course, incensed. How dare Astria accuse her? And I'm like, I don't think Astria is accusing you. I think the peasantry is accusing you. For whatever reason, possibly there's someone using some kind of illusion. These people live in a magical world, so you'd think that they would be more willing to be like, okay, it's not really our queen, it's an illusion. But again, Isla doesn't have an alibi for last night. And Astria's like, yeah, and she's destroyed villages before, so I'm just saying. So there you go. That was that chapter. Just more goofiness, honestly. Hello. It has been a couple days since I last recorded, but I might be wearing the same shirt. I don't know. It's cold here, and I have a limited supply of sweaters. It is time for chapter 26, Bloodless. Is it bloodless because we're focusing on bones now? Blood was so yesterday. We are into bones now. By the way, this book is just a absolute masterwork, an absolute magnum opus of this author's ability to just throw things onto a page with very little rhyme or reason, very little connection. She is just like coming into her own as someone who just has ideas and puts them in the book without any thought for flow and pacing and how they connect. It is, honestly, she's getting worse as a writer, but getting better at this very odd skill. Also, because everything is so random, I struggle from chapter to chapter to remember what happened last chapter. Sometimes, even in the same day, I'll read a chapter, I'll go away and do something else, I'll come back, and I won't remember what happened last chapter. And that's not, like, in Powerless, it was because I was so bored. And I am not bored. Say what you will about Skyshade, but I'm not bored. Except for I was a little bit during that Christmas Village date. But otherwise, I'm pretty entertained. However, everything is so random that I cannot hold on to like details of this book because there's so much and you never know what's going to be important and what's going to get thrown by the wayside, and you never know if the thing that she told you at the beginning, when that's going to come up again, because it's not going to be logical when it does. Apparently she said something that would piss Grimm off. Astria did something, I don't know. Oh yeah, everybody thinks that Isla destroyed a village. Because that's what Isla does. She's into destroying villages. You'd think people would be more afraid of her when she came into that little Christmas village if she has this reputation as a village destroyer. Again, Isla has done nothing to improve her reputation with these people except for throw a big fancy wedding. So, like, she really can't be that mad that they're like, actually, she's probably against us and trying to kill us all, because she's done zero things aside from going to one city and killing some bad men. But nobody knows that was her because she was in vigilante mode. The only people who knew that it was her were the cultists, and they killed themselves. So now she's like, did I black out and destroy a village? I'm like, no, probably not. But this woman is just so convinced that she's evil that she's like, probably when I blacked out from the Skyer situation, I went on a rampage and destroyed a random village. Okay, Isla, whatever. She's like, I shouldn't have taken the bracelets off. And I'm like, I'm still wondering why you did. So she's like, I need to see this village because if I do, then maybe I'll remember destroying it like a tiny little baby Godzilla. It takes her 5 tries to get to the village with her star stick because she's not super familiar with its location. She's been able to basically teleport everywhere else she needs to go, even if she's never been there before. But this time she struggles for some reason. Isla does notice, master detective that she is, that unlike the last time she destroyed a village, there's not ash everywhere. She didn't turn it to ash. The earth has kind of like come up and swallowed portions of this town, and like a very localized earthquake happened here. So Isla's like, yeah, I probably didn't do this. Grimm is there, and she's like, hey, Grimm, I didn't do this. And he's like, yeah, I know. But that's still supposed to be a sign of what a good man he is, because he believes her immediately. But of course, someone who looks like Isla was reportedly seen destroying the village. Maybe Isla has an evil twin. Oh my god, that would... Honestly, I could almost expect that as one of the twists of this book, because this author could do anything. At any point, she could pull anything out of her hat. And Isla having an evil twin all along does not even sound far-fetched for this book. Everybody in these stories, though, forgets that like so many people have superpowers and they could just be dealing with someone with the power of illusion of some kind, or a clever disguise. Your village was being destroyed at the time. Maybe a disguise would be enough to fool you. So she tells Grimm that if she ever leaves in the middle of the night again, he needs to follow her, which runs counter to, like, she left to go do the Skyers thing and she didn't want Grimm to follow her. So now she's telling him to follow her. How's she ever going to do her secret missions again? All of a sudden, she remembers the plot hook of follow the snakes again. She keeps seeing snakes and then not really following them. Like, she watched a bunch of snakes, like, slither down into the earth, and she was like, it's a mystery what follow the snakes means. Like, all of the clues are pointing to there's something going on underground, but we are not going to explore that. Now Isla's thinking about snakes and how snakes have suddenly just become her personality, and all of the times she's like visualized herself covered in snakes.
When I've conquered my fears right here in the old there before.
Really for no reason. Like, she was standing here looking at the wreckage of this village and the author was like, Isla needs to think about snakes now. There isn't a snake here to spur this thought. She just started thinking about snakes. But she's like, the snakes all led to me. They come to me. So the thing that I must follow with the snakes is the snakes are leading me to myself. And I'm like, are they? What about the ones that went down into the ground and you didn't follow them? We have this author's favorite word, puddled. Right, I had a little audio gap there. Hopefully future Julian will figure that out. Anyway, Isla went and got a bunch of snakes. So now she's covered in snakes and she goes to find Grimm in his throne room. And she's like, hey, what if it was me? What if I'm the traitor in my own midst? And Grimm's like, it was not you. And I'm like, it was not you. And probably the snakes are like, it was not you. But Isla's going to be convinced that it is. All of a sudden, the entire castle begins to tremble. And I was like, it'd be awfully convenient if the Underminer or whoever is attacking them attacked at this exact moment. But no, it's another storm, I guess. I guess nobody was paying attention to the stormfinch, you know, the thing that's supposed to warn them about storms, because they keep it in Isla's bedroom for some reason. Meanwhile, also, I guess there's a coup happening because Astria comes in and she's like, our own army is at the gates, as well as a storm. And Isla's like, well, they can't kill Grimm because his death would mean all of their death. And I'm like, yeah, they don't want to kill Grimm. They're here to kill you. The windows shatter because of the storm. And I'm like, the windows have like been surviving all of the other storms until now? Or are we replacing the glass in between every single storm? This is definitely a very weird storm, although I think perhaps two things are happening at once, because all of a sudden the ground just opens up and Isla just gets swallowed into the abyss. Because sure, that might as well happen. Isla was too dumb to follow the clues to go investigate underground. So the universe is just like, fine, bitch, here you go, and just dragged her under. I don't know what the snakes that she's covered in think of this. Maybe they all just bailed. She finds herself in a cavernous room underground full of fireflies for some reason. And there's another woman in the room. I'm gonna guess that the villain literally got bored of waiting for Isla to figure anything else out and was like, fine, I'll do it myself. This woman has the look of the sort of quote-unquote classic wildling that we were told all wildlings look like at the beginning of the first book. Brown skin, dark hair, vines twined around her arms. Also, this girl, she looks a lot like Isla, and I'm like, are we doing Long Lost Twin? Maybe Long Lost Sister? You know those old soap operas that I never watched, but like a friend of mine was really into, where like a character will be about to see their significant other cheating and then miraculously go blind at the exact moment that they needed to not see that. That's what this book is. The entire thing is just random stuff happening. It is so bonkers. Also, none of it is through Isla. Whenever Isla tries to do something, she fails. And then the universe, the plot, the author has to grab Isla and take her physically to the clues because Isla's too stupid to find them herself. Okay, this is either her mother or a long-lost sister at this point because the woman is like, you don't recognize me, do you? Isla's not going to ask, who are you? Isla instead goes for, what do you want? This woman is also out here to change the world in some way. Like, nobody likes the world that the author created the way it is. They're all like, we got to do something about this. So she says, to make this world anew. Where was this woman in the previous books? I don't know, hanging out underground with a bunch of snakes, probably. This woman says, I want to kill all of the nightshades, and Isla literally is like, okay, that's it, no more questions. Whoever this was, she was done listening to her. Good, great. Wouldn't want to get any more answers. That would be terrible if we got some more answers. Isla goes straight for the heart stabbing because that's who she is as a person, but it doesn't work. The woman just stands there like, huh. Isla just keeps attacking. Again, she's the most incurious person in the world. She has no questions about this. She just keeps attacking and nothing happens. Every time Isla stabs this woman, it just heals right back up and the woman just stands there and takes it. The woman just says, "You didn't let me finish. I want to kill every last one of them and use them to build something better, a new world." And I'm like, that is not helpful information. Like, what the fuck? Isla doesn't ask how the heck she would use the dead to make a better world. She just says, "What makes you think you can create a new world?" And this woman says, "Because I've done it before." So is this the person who like opened the portal and took everybody out of the old world, if you will, and brought them here to Lightlark, or created Lightlark? And did she create it for Isla specifically? All the snakes that Isla has been wearing abandon her and go hang out with this woman instead. So Isla is so uncool that even her snakes have left her. Isla's like, "I still can't shake how much we look similar." And this woman's like, "Yeah, you're dumb. You didn't pursue asking me who I was. I am Lark Crown." So she's one of the founders and she has survived or is undead in some way. And I cannot express to you how little this giant twist impacts me, because nothing in this book, like if you're going to have a giant twist, it should feel like the book was leading up to that. This book did not even kind of feel like it was leading up to that, like at all. If we were going to meet one of the founders, I wasn't thinking it was going to be her. So yeah, just ridiculousness. I don't know. The next chapter's kind of long. How much time have I got left? Not a lot. All right, I will come back and read on another day. I may still be wearing the same sweater, but I will see all of you again for the next chapter. Hello. It is a Christmas day as I am recording this. I've got a half hour extra, and I want to get some pages in. We are making good time, but like not fast enough. I want to go faster. There's only so much of this book I can take in one sitting. My cosplay for the final chapters is on the way. Because of the Christmas like congestion around shipping, it's coming slowly, but I'm excited. It's going to be weird since I'm going to be doing these read-alongs in larger chunks instead of smaller chunks. Normally, I would try to do the cosplay for like the final video, like all of the final video if I at all can. But this time I'm not doing that. I'm not wearing my cosplay for like 3 hours worth of footage. So it is going to be a little bit like different. Anyway, chapter 27 is called Lark, because if you recall, the author just randomly... Did I already put down... Hang on a second. I think I need to call this another twist ending, even though it's not quite the ending, because, like, this is just one of those sort of twists that this author likes to pull out of her ass. I watched a bunch of interviews to try and find this author pronouncing her character's name, and one of the things that she loves to talk about is all of the twists that she includes and how nobody has guessed all the twists. And I'm like, yeah, because they're nonsensical. You shouldn't be proud in your book that nobody can guess your twists, because that means you didn't give them any clues. Like, sure, some people not guessing your twists, that's fine. But 0 people? They didn't get any clues. That just means that they are guessing, literally guessing, just throwing out ideas, because you didn't give them any clues. Lark Crown, her ancestor, and one of the 3 founders of Lightlark, is standing in front of Isla and has been causing problems. And is she the traitor? Because I don't think you can be a traitor if you were never on someone's side. She's like never Isla's ally. Then she never betrayed shit. I bet you the person that Isla keeps seeing covered in snakes is this person, not Isla. Isla, oh my god. Isla's refusal to make a single goddamn friend is so infuriating, because she says part of her was relieved. All this time she felt so alone. She wasn't. She had wildling family. Miss Ma'am, you have your entire wildling people that you are connected to. It wasn't like your people were wiped out. In fact, they are here on Nightshade Island with you. Go make friends with some of them. Isla's acting like all of her people were destroyed and she's the last one in existence because she doesn't have any like immediate blood relatives. Oh my god, her refusal to make a single friend. The only friends she's made, sort of, I say friends in heavy quotations, is because the other person has thrown themselves at Isla, basically begging to be her friend and declaring themselves Isla's friend, because Isla will put zero effort ever into another person. So Isla's like, where were ya? And this bitch says, buried. And she says, worlds are built on bones, you see. Wow. This world building is bullshit. So this bitch is like, I'm gonna keep calling her that instead of Lark. This bitch is like, we basically had to slaughter thousands to build this world, this place of Light Lark. We had to kill so many people and make them the foundation of Light Lark, whatever that means. Whether these islands are literally made out of corpses, I'm not sure. Or if they just mean like they had to drain power from a lot of people. It's so vague, I have no idea. But apparently also, the heart of Light Lark, you remember from the first book, was the only time that it mattered, is an artifact from the old world, the other dimension that they all came from. And it's like a world seed of some kind. It's like a seed of endless power or some bullshit. But apparently, Lark was used to anchor this world. No fucking idea what that means. So apparently she was buried in the metal, that special metal that only showed up in this book, and it kept leeching away her power. I don't know what happens now that she's gotten free, and I don't know who freed her, but she's like, is Cronin still alive? And Isla's like, well, his coffin was empty, so he might be. We are so desperate for something of interest to happen that we're resurrecting dead people. So I guess Lark thinks that Cronin went back to the other world, probably through the portal that's creating the storms, I would guess. Oh my gosh, this is just so much telling. So she says that Cronin could have made the portal himself, but he stole the power from me to ensure he would stay alive. That fact seemed to haunt her. Could you be more like blasé? That fact seemed to haunt her. Like, no facial expression, no hints as to how we know that the fact seemed to haunt her. It's just, that fact seemed to haunt her. It says she had so many questions, meaning Isla had so many questions, but few of them mattered now. And I'm like, I am so baffled by every decision that I don't even know what questions to ask at this point. I've forgotten more lore in these books. There's just too much, and you never know what matters and what doesn't. But Lark is like, I hate the world that the boys created, Cronin and Horus. I hate it. I want to make a new one. I don't care who dies in the process.
I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers.
Also, we've been having a lot of trouble in this section specifically. We have two characters using the same pronouns in a scene. Both these characters use she, her pronouns. And when you have two characters with the same pronouns, you have to identify the speaker more often than you probably think you should. You're going to think that it's obvious because you know who's speaking, but your reader won't automatically know which she or which her you mean. So you're going to want to put names in more often. If you feel like you're using their names too often in these situations, you're probably using like the right amount. Because we keep having she, and I don't know if it's Isla or it's Lark, and I have to keep reading to use context clues to figure it out, and your reader should not have to use context clues to figure out who is speaking. Like, context clues are for, like, maybe a little bit of mystery you want them to solve, maybe some foreshadowing, not for who's talking in a scene. But I guess, yes, Lark is indeed the traitor. Not Tara, not Poppy, not Ren, not any of her subjects. Was Ren ever on the table as a possibility for Isla? She was for me, but for Isla, yeah, I mean, again, I would have never guessed that we were resurrecting a dead person as the traitor, which is why nobody's guessing your twists, Alex Astor, because they don't make sense. Lark is like, I'm gonna keep you alive though, Isla. I don't care who else I kill, but I'm gonna keep you alive. The heart of Light Lark has marked you. I can feel its energy. I need its power to create a new world. You will help me find it. Boy, the heart of Light Lark just does everything. Also, apparently you just need to follow a bird at sunrise. Wasn't that what it was? Now, of course, the villain, the new villain, the surprise villain, do I have that on there too, is like, we are the same, Isla. You should join me. And Isla's like, I would never kill innocents for my own gain. And Lark is like, haven't you? You know, the typical, like, join me, we are the same. Isla decides that this conversation is over because, again, Alex Hester has no idea how to, like, end scenes. And she just uses her abilities to tunnel her way back to the surface. Hello.
Hello, love.
So she resurfaces, and Grimm's army is still attacking his castle. I guess they didn't notice that she was gone. Or they just hate Grimm now, I don't know. But she flies up to find out where Grimm or Astria are. Wow, this is clunky. She felt the force of the blow through the crown of her head, as her blade rushed up to meet a sword longer than her leg. What was that sentence? That's one of those sentences that, if I was developmentally editing for you, I would highlight and be like, hey, this reads weirdly. Maybe read this one aloud and see if you want to rework it, because I suspect you might. So she's being attacked, and she chopped off the guy's hand, but he doesn't even notice. So she's like, these are not real people. These are something worse. She thinks that they are zombies, in fact. Why not? Why the fuck not? I didn't have zombies on the bingo card, because some things you just can't predict. Also, what happened to Cleo? Is she here? Is she not here? Like, what's going on with her? Isla showed up in her ship, and she was like, you know what, on second thought, let's not go to Grimm's castle. It's a very silly place. By the way, now Isla has apparently mastered her starling powers, and she's just, like, slicing people in half with blades of starling magic. Because if you remember, starlings can create matter out of nothing. The zombies are wearing the same armor as Grimm's army, so she can't tell who's who. It's causing a great deal of chaos.
No indication as to where the zombies got the armor from, but Lark resurrected a whole bunch of dead people out of the graveyards. So either people are buried in their armor, or Lark got a hold of a bunch of Grimm's armor and played dress up with her zombies for a while.
If I was Grimm, I would be like, okay, real quick, everybody, I'm gonna need you to, like, throw on a bandana around your arm or something. Like, everybody who can, I'm gonna need you to put on something that distinguishes you. So she flies them into the air because she's just, like, evil Superman now. Isla is Homelander. So she flies up in the air and she's like, I could just destroy everything with one nuke of my powers. But, the armies are intermingled, so I'll kill Grimm's army as well. And then she's like, do I care? They were going to try to kill me earlier. Yeah. And then she's like, wait, if I'm going to fight Lark, I'm going to need an army, so I need to keep these people alive. She doesn't keep them alive because that's the right thing to do. She keeps them alive because she could use them later, which is very Isla-coded. Like, she's not interested in you unless she can use you. And I don't think that's part of the villain arc that this author thought that she was trying to write for this book. I think that that's a mistake, like, that on the author's part. She hasn't realized, she's not skilled enough to have realized that she's created a character who is so self-centered, myopic, and unconcerned with anyone else around her that she thinks about people only in terms of how she can use them. And she didn't have to worry about it anyway because she concentrates for like 10 seconds, and all of a sudden she can focus her ability so much that she only kills the zombies. She blasts them into little chunklets. Yeah, see, this is the way that the author thinks that she's made Isla have a quote-unquote villain arc. She blasts the enemy into little chunklets, and Grimm's army looks up and sees her hovering there like an evil god. And it says, they started to run, fleeing as if she were the enemy about to strike them down. She found herself smiling. That was what they expected. They hated her. She found herself wondering if she should do it. Wondering if she should give in to the rage, that revenge. Especially the cowards who ran. Ma'am, you just blasted an entire army into indistinguishable chunks. I'd run no matter how brave you think I'm supposed to be. But she let them run. She let them fear her because this is her villain arc, remember? A few did stay to try and fight her, and she nods to them because those are the brave ones. Those are the ones that she likes, probably because they could be more useful to her specifically. Then Isla hears screams coming from the nearest village because she is Superman, and now she has Superman's super hearing, I guess. That was never one of her abilities before, but now it is. And she's like, they need me. And she zooms off through the sky to go fight zombies over there. You know, a fact about me is that I love zombies, and any story that has zombies in it usually gets extra points from me just for having zombies. This book does not, because, like, what the fuck is any, like, It definitely feels like this author was like, might as well have zombies too. With the force of a meteor, Isla landed in the streets, right between the bloodless soldiers and the villagers in her path. Yeah, so she does like a Superman landing, like, and I'm sure the author pictured it looking really cool for the inevitable movie. I don't think, if Lightlark gets a movie, which I have heard that there's rumblings of it still moving forward, I do not think that it's gonna, we're gonna get the whole Lightlark series. I think it's gonna be one movie, and then the books will stop selling well enough because they're awful, and that'll be it. Watch it completely put the final nail in the coffin of YA book adaptation movies. It's probably going to come out direct to streaming. I don't know. So she blasts all of the zombies in town with fire just for some variety, and then Grimm on Dragonback lands behind her. She tells him everything, which I don't know why she's got time to do that. Zombies are attacking various places, but because it can be summarized in, she told him everything, who the traitor was, what she looked like. Then, yeah, if she can summarize it as fast as that, we got all the time in the world. She's like, you were right, Grimm, it wasn't me who was killing everybody recently, and I'm like, yes. Ugh. This girl is just the dumbest. She's making Summer from The Cellar look like a freaking genius. Now they're working together, her using fire and him using shadow, the same thing that's in all of these books where she is light and he is dark, to destroy all of the zombies, and they portal the villagers to safety. Isla kind of has this thing going on where she really only wants to save quote-unquote innocents. So Grimm's soldiers do not count as innocents, but the villagers do count as innocents. And what a world to live in where some supreme being decides if you are quote unquote innocent enough to be worthy of saving.
What really sucked for the innocent, there's some catastrophes happen, a whole bunch of people are wiping out, and someone shows up and is like, you're gonna be safe, just you, and just watches other people's faces melt off around them. I'm so innocent, I've got lifelong trauma.
So she and Grimm just cut a swath across the countryside, killing all of the undead. And finally, they have succeeded because I guess they've just slaughtered enough undead that Lark has to replenish her forces now. We have a different faceless army. In the previous books, we had the Drex, but we're not using the Drex. We're bored of the Drex now. Now we're using zombies. So Isla is like, aha, I figured it out. Lark killed all of our Nightbane because she wanted to replenish her army with the people who would die when she attacked. So anybody who dies now, they are going to replenish Lark's army. The blacksmith is here for some reason, and he knew about Lark, and he's like, yeah, Lark hasn't visited me yet, but she's going to. So I guess Cronin and Lark were in love, or she at least loved Cronin, because as you remember, the big conflict in the past was that people fell in love with the wrong people. That's always the conflict. The blacksmith, I guess, portaled Isla to see him because he was the one who created her star stick. We keep finding out new people who used to own the star stick, and I guess it was him. Whoa, no, we were all wondering with bated breath if we would ever find out the origin of the item that you not described. Starstick never described is the middle square, is the free square on this. I think that Alex Astor is like, I'm never going to describe it because so many people were mad that I never described it. Now I'm never going to do it. You're never going to find out what it looks like. Ha! The blacksmith is like, by the way, I made you a present. It's this super, super light armor, super delicate and fine, with chainmail that's basically mithril, and I'm certain that it's boob armor. This author does not know the names of parts of armor, and clearly does not believe that Google exists, because you can just Google what parts of armor are called, but we're not doing that, so she just fumbles her way through describing this armor in a deeply comical manner. Sometimes you can just tell when an author does not give a fuck. If you're gonna have armor in your fantasy story, learn what the pieces are called. At least a couple of them. So you don't sound like an idiot. He made her armor out of Shade Maid, which seems like a terrible idea because won't that negate everybody's powers? Probably not hers because she's special, but if she was sitting next to Grimm, wouldn't it negate his powers? What's the point? He reminds her that he's a believer, and he also believes that she's here to either save the world or destroy it because people just keep repeating that at her. Her armor has pockets. Her armor has pockets to put daggers in because this author also doesn't know what sheaths are. She is so incurious, so lazy about writing a fantasy world. She doesn't even bother to find out what sheaths are. How do you go through your life enjoying fantasy books? Maybe she doesn't read any other fantasy books. In all of the interviews that I forced myself to watch, she said that Twilight was her like gateway into reading, which is fine. It was lots of people's gateway into reading. But it seems that she began and ended there because like if you read fantasy books, you're going to hear words like the names for parts of armor and sheath. But she thinks that people walk around with daggers in their pockets and that armor, metal armor, breastplates, plate mail has pockets.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
The blacksmith is like, okay, now that I've given you all of these things, you need to kill me because Lark is going to come here and she's going to use me because, like, even though I can't be killed, you can magically compel me, so that's what she's going to do. So you need to kill me. And Isla, being the best girl that she is like, what's your name? Because only Isla would care about that. But he doesn't remember. He's like, I don't remember. And she stabs him. So we could have cut that whole what's your name sequence, honestly. Oh, never mind. He remembers last second. She's like about to, like, her blade is inches from his skin, and he remembers his name is Farrar. And then she stabs him through the heart. Goodbye, Farrar. Still could have cut that whole name sequence. Completely unnecessary.
Also, if you were wondering, his name, Farrar, it just means blacksmith. The blacksmith's name is Blacksmith. Creativity is dead.
Isla goes to gather up her armor, but even though it has pockets, it is not all attached together, and so all of the pieces, like, scatter. Because, yeah, plate mail is not all one piece. It's a lot of pieces. Then she remembers she has starling power, so she just hovers the armor beside her. Also, she could just draw the portal under the armor and let it fall through. But yeah, she portals away with her new armor and her new sword and her new daggers. And Lynx is there when she gets to her destination and she gives him a hug because the animal companions exist as transportation and to comfort the main character. So Isla realizes this. Beyond breaking the curses, she hadn't given her people much reason to be loyal to her. She just hoped they wouldn't stand against her. Wow, it's completely unpreventable. There's nothing that Isla could have done to be a good ruler to her people and make them loyal to her. She gives her star stick to Ren and is like, if you need to get away, portal everybody to the wildling New Land, and bring Lynx with you if he's not with me. Good, great. I don't know why it's better there, but I don't know why Lark is only grabbing dead people from Nightshade. Does Nightshade just have the most dead people? Oh, like, why is she focusing here so much? So she realizes that, you remember way back in book 1, Oro was like, I can't personally kill Grimm because he's keeping something more dangerous at bay. And we didn't know what that was, and we basically totally forgot about it in book 2. And now here we're finding out that the thing that he was keeping at bay was Lark. But how and why is he not keeping her at bay anymore? Of course, she doesn't ask how. She asks why. How would be more crucial to you, Isla, because then you might be able to put her back into whatever slumber she was in. So Grimm explains a little bit how, even though she asked why. His power just kept her asleep. But now it stopped doing that. He's like, if I die, then she would reawaken. And I'm like, well, dude, you're very much alive, so I guess she reawakened anyway. Maybe it's if he falls in love, she will reawaken or some shit. And he's like, I didn't tell you, Isla, because you're related to her. And we're going on the notion that blood is indeed thicker than water, and you should only care about people who you are blood related to versus anybody else. I hate that. I hate when stories do that. It's often fantasy stories where the character is just supposed to be like, well, they are my blood family, so fuck the rest of the world. I should always side with them. And Isla is a little bit mad at him, not for not telling her, but for hiding specifically that she had family. The fuck is wrong with these people? Clearly, Alex Astor is not a fan of the found family trope. She's like, blood family or bust. So what do we do? Grimm asked. The great Nightshade warrior was asking her for a plan, and she had one. Oh, of course. Of course she fucking has one. This genius certainly has a plan. Obviously, Isla would have a plan. She's been so intelligent and thoughtful throughout all of these books. But her plan is to somehow banish Lark to a different dimension, probably by yeeting her through the storm portal. She's like, to do that, we need to find the missing pages from the Oracle's book. Remember those? Remember how we had a mission to find those for 10 seconds? And they're on Light Lark. Apparently, she and Grimm are supposed to have reached some kind of understanding as a couple, which we never saw them reach. Again, this author doesn't understand how character growth happens. But it says, in the past, he would have stopped her. He would have insisted on coming anyway. He would have made the decision for her. Now he only gathered her in his arms and pressed his lips to the crown of her head and said, "Come back to me, wife." And it's like, okay, you can totally have that arc where he starts out being like overprotective and always wanting to go with her and then learns to trust her and let her go alone. But that did not happen. Nowhere in this book was that arc. The author just decides at, random points, oh, we've grown. You didn't see it? I guess you weren't paying attention, huh? She can portal now without her star stick, though, because she has her powers back, and one of her powers is Grimm's power. So she uses that to portal to Lightlark. All right, that was that chapter, finally. All right, I need to get this audio squared away, and then I'm gonna go have Christmas with my family. I'll see you for the next chapter.
Be with us next time, when another human life is trapped in the never-closing eye of the target.
I've got every cigarette card they ever printed of you. My whole family took up smoking just so that we could get the whole set.
And I'd do it for you too, patrons. Okay, maybe I wouldn't go quite that far, but I will read your names out so everyone can hear how awesome you are. Jennifer, Nemo, Tactical Hot Dog, Haley History Nerd, Stephanie, Pixelizzy, Raya, Christina, Cameron, Lady Kragan, Jose, Lunar Muse, AJ, Marshy, Semidark, GK, Scout, K, Annika, Jen, Gay Tutter, Tina, Laknunga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Cat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Roma, Pantsing Pony, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaru, Mooney, Pudamanster, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Mufflier, Celia, Alyssa, Deborah, Afra, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Vampire Antihero, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, and Lisa. Thanks so much for continuing to be my patrons into the new year. I've got more exciting patron videos planned for all of you, so look forward to it.